All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. This is Spoon TV. We are coming to you live from the chambers of the Liberian Senate. My name is Nelson Collet, and we're here on this special broadcast. We life happenings here on the grounds of the legislature. The Liberian Senate is about to conduct a major hearing. The Senate's Committee on Foreign Affairs, chaired by Senator Abraham Darius DeLong, will be conducting a
Good
public
afternoon,
hearing with Foreign Minister Sarah
distinguished
Beysolow.
colleagues, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Deputy Minister, Passport Director, the head of um, the Institute, Foreign Service Institute, the Chief of Protocol, Republic of Liberia, the Inspector General, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the media, citizens. Welcome to this joint hearing of the Liberian Senate of the Foreign Affairs and Defense, Security, and Intelligence Committee of the Senate. This hearing was scheduled for today since the last week. This hearing seeks to cover a lot of issues relative to Liberia's foreign relations, deployment of foreign service officials, the challenges. This hearing also seeks to engage with the ministry on Liberian students out of this country, particularly from Morocco and other areas. This hearing also seeks to engage with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as mandated by plenary of the Senate under the communication from Senator Edwin Snow of Bombay County that there's an opportunity for us to engage Ecowas as a country to seek the possibility of hosting an Ecowas institution in Liberia, which will be a good thing for this country and could also help with local employment of our citizens here. This hearing will also seek for us to discuss and get some answers and the way forward on the latest United States government position to suggest Liberia on visa restriction within the next 60 days if some measures are not put in place. This hearing will also seek to get answers from the minister and her team on the issue about the sale of diplomatic passport. That issue was inherited, what's its status, and the way forward. We will also seek to get some full understanding of the Japanese grant to Liberia. This hearing is carried live on ELBC. This hearing is carried live on OKFM. It's being carried live on Joy FM. It's being carried live on Radio Bourgeois and a host of other media institutions for the sake of the public interest. We will put the minister and all of those relevant officials of the ministry that she came with along as a team will put you on an oath, and then we will proceed from there. So, having said that, this hearing is hereby declared open. We have a short word of prayer from the chaplaincy of the Liberian Senate. short word of prayer.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Co-Chair, distinguished senators, officials to this hearing, the folk estate, and the public. I will be praying from the book of Psalm 121. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall not slumber, nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shield upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and forevermore. May we bow, please. Our most eternal Father, I thank you for this occasion of hearing. I thank you for the co-chair, the honorable chair, distinguished senators, the officials to this hearing. Thank you for the folk estate that are here to cover up such program. We pray for your grace to be over this hearing so that all that have been sought for, information-wise, can be gathered in truth and in all fairness. Bless all those in this hearing, and let Liberia be blessed the most in Jesus' name. Amen.
Sergeant, please administer the oath.
Well, the Sergeant at Arms will now administer the oath.
Okay, before you administer the oath, Madam Minister, please identify all those who are relevant to this discussion and those who will speak. Then we'll place them on the oath. Go ahead, Madam Minister. Please identify your team, those relevant to this discussion.
Based on the points that you listed,
Yeah.
Senator Dillon, and the expected discussions around them and responses around them, the persons here who have relevance to those issues are the DNA, Gabriel Sely, the DG for the department.
Please don't use abbreviation, just call the titles for them.
Okay. The Director General for the Department of Passports, Visas and Diplomatic Intelligence, the Director General for Foreign Service Institute, the Assistant Minister for Legal, Rosella Jacoli, the Deputy Minister for International Cooperation and Economic Integration, Dr. Ibrahim Yang, the Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs, representing Deputy Minister Joel Gray. And let me please allow me to indicate that Assistant Minister Jacoli is representing Councillor Jelly Ama. Both of them are on duty travel. The IG may have to respond to issues. I do not see any of the issues having direct relation to the Chief of Protocol.
No, we involve protocol issues.
And the Assistant Minister for Public Affairs will not be speaking, but
Right.
she's part of the team.
Yeah. So she doesn't have to take the oath. Yeah.
There's an issue I was going to raise on the AOB that refers to the Assistant Minister of Public Affairs. So I say indulgence.
For her to take the oath?
Yes.
Okay.
The second point, in your communication, we talked about the Japanese rice and the man in charge of that rice. Steve P. Farm Pay, I don't see him here.
The minister is in charge and the minister is there.
So we don't need.
According to her discussion, but let her respond to that.
All right.
The Deputy Minister responsible for bilateral cooperation is Dr. Niang, and he oversees all our bilateral cooperation, of which the Japanese rice is part of it.
Okay. Okay, so having said that, Mr. Sergeant, please proceed to administer the oath. We want to hear everybody loudly because
Raise your right
Then, if I say I, you call your name, you call your portfolio, and repeat after me. I, do hereby swear that the testimony I'm about to give and to my recollections is the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Witnesses on the stand are qualified.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant. Please be seated. At this point, the committee, the senators will do self-introduction as the tradition and protocol would demand. And then thereafter, the minister will give us an overview, and then we'll interact. So we will begin from a far right.
My name is Senator Thomas Yaya Nimble, member of the Committee on Foreign Affairs and member on the Defense, Security, and Intelligence. Thank you.
Nyatwai, Senator County, member of the Defense Committee.
Amara Mohammed Kone, Senator Bapulu Kante, member of the Foreign Affairs Committee.
Senator Simeon Boyman-Taylor from Grand Cape More County, chairing the Committee on Lands and Mines.
Albert Tupeche, representing Grand Crew County and member of the Foreign Affairs Committee.
Senator Numeniti Ishbatekwa, I represent the people of Green Crew, member of the Defense and Security.
Senator Emmanuel James Nokwe, Senator from Maikipi County, member of the Commerce Committee and as well as the Judiciary Committee for the purpose of this hearing.
My name is Senator Jiffon Smith of Roses County. I chair the Senate Committee on Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. My name is Momo Tani Kolisaros. I represent the people of Lofa County United Senate, and I chair the Security Committee, that is a Security, Defense, Intelligence, and Veteran Affairs Committee, member of the leadership of the Liberia Senate as well.
Senator Edwin Snow, Senator of Bombay County, a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, and I chair the Committee on Hydrocarbon. I also happen to be the head of the Liberian delegation to the Ecowas Parliament, and at that parliament I chair the Committee on Political Affairs, Peace, Security, and African Peer Review Mechanism. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm Senator Sai Joseph, co-chair the Committee on Foreign Affairs, and then chairman on transport.
Senator Madio.
We will back up a little bit. We'll back up a little bit.
I'm Ibrahim Darius Dillon. I'm Senator from Monrovia County. I'm humbled to serve as chair of the Committee on Foreign Affairs, and this hearing is a joint committee hearing along with the Defense, Security, and Intelligence Committee. So Senator Sarah Momo is co-chair of this joint committee hearing today.
Okay.
No. For the purpose of the hearing. I will go for it.
Madam Minister, from our overview, you want to give us an opening statement. We'll now turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, Senator, and in your capacity as chair of the committee presiding over this hearing, and also for the chair on security and all senators who are participating in the hearing, good afternoon. The team before you is the team from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the team has been constituted based on the information we had in relation to the questions that the Senate would like to address as it relates to this its oversight function. The situation at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is one that we would classify as significant work in progress as it relates to Liberia's foreign relations. And the analysis that we took when we took over the leadership of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is that we needed to place some emphasis on the issue of passports. We needed to strengthen our relationship with the rest of the world to reposition Liberia and rebrand Liberia. We felt it was very important to take on leadership for the Monrovia Union and the relationships around that, noting the importance to not only the economic development but also security as well. We also prioritized the quest for the seat to the UN Security Council, and we prioritized bilateral engagements, making sure that we strengthen economic diplomacy so that we would.
You want to give us an overview of each of those issues, then we'll come back to the interactive part for detailed information.
Okay. So, let me go back to the list. So, in relation to foreign service, the need for us to strengthen our foreign service has been it hasn't been overstated. It actually has been an issue of priority. We have been approached by the US government directly on several occasions to say that our capacity in the US is very weak, that there was a need for overhauling the entire foreign service in the US. We use that as an entry point to look across the foreign service, to look at all of the needs. We have been working to ensure that we can have rotation within the foreign service to be able to meet the needs for the country's representation, but also to also provide a human face to how foreign service should operate. People shouldn't be in a country for over 10, 20 years. We've had that outlook, and with that, we looked at strategically appointing ambassadors that would be relevant to the different contexts and so forth, looking at the priorities in those places. We have been able to do that. We've been able to appoint ambassadors to strategic locations, and we've been able to start to deploy. In trying to strengthen the foreign service, it requires and the budget lines that we have, it's been very difficult to do so. However, we have done a thorough planning for foreign service movement. We have had a list of people poised to be sent out into foreign service, people to be moved around. We are actively involved in dialogue with many of them. Some of them have been issued letters already, some have not been. This is an ongoing process, but it will take time. We cannot deploy at once because we do not have the resources to do so. In some of the embassies, we have people who were there but were not on a particular function that existed. We have had some anomalies. We're addressing those. But I can also share with you some of the challenges that they face that we have not had the resources to address. One of it being just the enabling environment, the tools they need to work, the embassies, the condition of the embassies, needing to have painting, refurbishment, furniture, vehicles. Many of them have vehicles that are broken down, and so forth. And it will require significant resources for us to be able to really meet the needs of the Foreign Service personnel. Also, it's important to note here that while we are looking at strengthening the ones we have, we also need to, in parallel, look at new areas where we need to have representation. We have, for economic reasons, for citizen service reasons, we need to look at services in Rwanda. We need to look at how we have presence in Rwanda because of the number of students we have in Rwanda, over 3,000 students. Canada is a priority. Australia, we are actively looking to that. Turkey and India. Now, when we say you don't have money for what you have already, but you're looking to open new embassies or consulates, this is because of various demands and for economic reasons as well. And so this is something we hope to engage with you all on the Senate, if you can help us in this regard, because we do need to strengthen our presence out there, and we need to be in some strategic places where, for economic and citizen service reasons, it will be required for Liberia to have a presence. We did, as it were, we did have an exercise where we've been running Foreign Service Institute classes, trying to beef up capacity. Because capacity will not necessarily be only about a person, but it could be about updating or upgrading skill sets. And so with the FSI, we're looking at how we strengthen the original intention for FSI, which was to build capacity of foreign service personnel. On the issue of the students in Morocco, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs engages with the Ministry of Education on the scholarships in Morocco and the stipend that's paid by government. Ministry of Education leads on that. We have been engaged with the Ministry of Education. Up until Friday, Ministry of Education had a call with the students in Morocco. She has been able to take some steps, and I believe that she'll be able to give further clarification. But I can say, as much as I know, is that the categories of students in Morocco, some have overstayed since 2013 and were not in school. Some were in school, completed, but then are stuck there. And she's made efforts to disaggregate the different categories and going outside of the norm to make sure that we repatriate students who have completed and can be brought back home, and to address some of the issues. But she can go into the detail of those issues. We do serve on the committee in relation to that, and so Dr. Nier and Assistant Minister Kokwe are part of that process. On the point of hosting an ECOWAS agency in Liberia, I would like to say that during the last ECOWAS sitting, we approached ECOWAS. We approached the chair of ECOWAS, Omar Toure, to indicate Liberia's interest in hosting one of the ECOWAS institutions. Subsequently, I had a call with ECOWAS to say that we wanted to document this officially to request. He asked us to wait until he had put in place a mechanism for member states to express their interest. A few weeks ago, he reached out now with the expression of interest for countries to indicate. I want to thank Senator Snow for his engagement with us in this regard. He has been actively discussing with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs how we go about this. We recently had a conversation about this. The two entities, WAHU, the West African Health Organization, and the Entity for Youth, we were looking at requesting both of those. We had a discussion about which countries are in play for those, and we felt strongly together. We discussed that we'll still register Liberia's interest in the health organization, but we'll also strongly push for the youth entity, knowing that there's so many big players who are fighting over the West Africa Health Organization. But yes, indeed, we are pursuing this, and we've made our interest known. On the issue of the U.S. visa restriction, the information that we received in the news, along with everybody else through social media, was a surprise to us. We immediately contacted the U.S. ambassador, the government, through the ambassador, to ascertain as to the validity of what was being purported on social media. As of the weekend, the ambassador indicated to me that he had no information in relation to this and would seek more clarification. Subsequently, we issued a démarche to the U.S. government that indicates that officially we have heard this from the from the report from the New York Times that is been reported as a draft. We don't know if this is true or not, but should it be true, should it be valid, we then stipulated all the reasons why Liberia should not be on that list. We outline all of the steps that have been taken by Liberia over the last 1 year. We give them succinctly to him and ask him to please look into it. That demarche has been issued, the US government has that demarche, and we look forward to hear from the US in relation to that. There are lots of speculations around why Liberia would be on that list if that list is indeed true, and I want to stress the point of if it is indeed true. And why do I stress that? I stress it because we have other lists circulating around here about deportations and so-called mass deportation and all of that. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, under my leadership, we went to DC. We went to Washington, DC. I went with Assistant Minister Honorary, who covers American affairs. We engaged with key people in the administration. We engaged our State Department, and to date, we engaged with ICE through the embassy. And to date, those numbers that information cannot be validated. So I would just want to caution us not to see that news report as being an actual and start to run with the assumption of why, when we have not even validated it. However, we're not taking it lightly because we know there could be truth to it. There could be discussions happening where we are part of a yellow list, and because of that, we've issued a demarche and giving all the information to the U.S. Embassy to remind them of all the steps we've taken that would necessitate them to take us off that list. And if you would like, Senator, I can go into some of those points that we shared with the U.S. in the demarche. Let me share with you a copy of the demarche issued to the U.S. We indicated to the U.S. government the work that we've been able to do. We started out by reminding the U.S. that in February 2024, immediately upon assuming office, that I met with the U.S. government within that same month, met with them to address various concerns, and primary to that was for them to help us with the internal control and system for processing and issuing diplomatic passports, privileged passports with enhanced security. That was one of the first things we did within weeks. And we had meetings in relation to that. I followed up immediately with a meeting and formal communication requesting that said support. The director of passports is under that department, and that director role was held by Joe Mendy up until his retirement, and now we have an acting Paul Gaffouin who has put in significant reforms in relation to passports. We also, with the Diplomatic Intelligence Unit, now have been doing a lot of work on privileged passports. In March also, we requested the return of all privileged passports. As you can recall, a lot of work was done in relation to that, and for those who didn't comply, all those passport numbers were shared with Interpol, and we asked Interpol to please help us to address the situation. In November 2024, we constituted an investigative panel comprising of members of the Immigration, Liberian National Police, National Security Agency, and Diplomatic Security Service within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the purpose of investigating cases in relation to passport fraud. I'm happy to say that the work done by DG Pearson and the team, a full team, that work had led to 15 cases of fraud being identified in impersonation and handed over to the DSS within our ministry and National Police. Also, we have conducted a full security audit of the passport issuance procedures. The gaps we identified have led to us restructuring, adding more personnel, and changing the processes for visa issuance. In August 2024, I went to Washington, D.C. and met key personnel there, and we discussed the support we needed for diplomatic intelligence and strengthening our passport system. That led to a meeting subsequently that we had here in Liberia with the U.S. government, including the CIA, the regional security expert, where we discussed the support that we require from them. They wanted more clarification on the type of support and so forth. We also discussed some cases that we felt that we needed some help from the U.S. government security people, the CIA with, and that conversation has continued with DG Pearson. We I would like to, there's some points in there towards the end, since I would not like to share those openly for security reasons, but we have also, we have been able to start the process for having Liberia compliant with ICAO PKD. Now that PKD process, we recently found out last year that there has been a process where we've been requested to become part of that ICAO PKD, but it was never done. And so we started in November 2024 because that process would allow for our passports, when being verified at points of entry, for there to be an automatic system for those passports to be validated. Liberia has not been part of that process. When we found out about it, we started the process in November. By May this year, we should be fully compliant with ICAO PKD. Also, we found out that the government of Liberia was requested to send in envelopes of our passports for the exemplars of our passports and visa stamps. The request was made some years back, Liberia never complied. What we found out about this February 10, 2025, and immediately upon the request made to us, the same day we complied, and that has led to us now having more security information in relation to traveling and so forth. Significant steps have been taken in relation to strengthening our passport security system. I would like to also use the opportunity then to address the issue of passport sales and so forth that has come up. There's a passport that's circulating from one Matthias Spies, a German who has a diplomatic passport. Privileged passports do not confer citizenship. Privileged passports are not passports only for Liberians. Depending on the function someone carries out, they can carry a diplomatic, official, or service passport, depending on the service they're providing to government. The process that we use to issue is a vetting by NSA. Anybody holding our diplomatic passport who is not a Liberian goes through that NSA process. Matthias Spies applied to continue being an ambassador at large to the Liberian government, which had happened for previous administrations. That was not approved. What was approved within our framework was international consultant based on the expert advice of the President's advisor on foreign affairs, Ambassador Wallace. He said we could work with him as an international consultant. Let's see how he does. I am happy to indicate to you that since we appointed him to Mauritius in the Southern Belt, we have had increased scholarships from Mauritius. We have the evidence of that. We got more scholarships from Mauritius in the last months than we had in previous years. It's not something that's underneath the table or so forth. It's an actual function that's being carried out. He's a German citizen and he's entitled to a diplomatic passport. People who carry out diplomatic functions for different governments, depending on that government's own laws and so forth, can issue diplomatic passports to foreigners. Our national ordinary passports confer citizenship. That's only for Liberians. So that passport was not sold to anybody. It's a legitimate passport that was issued for legitimate work that's being done. On the issue of the Japanese grant to Liberia, Japanese rice, this.
I think we should pause for now. Let's clear off step by step. Yes. Okay. Okay. Conclude.
There's one last point left,
yes,
which is the Japanese rights. Yeah. And just to indicate that when we took over responsibility for the ministry, the Japanese rights program had been there for a long time. The program has been part of the government's programs for, I don't know the number of years, but a very long time, for over 10 years for sure. And it previously was at Ministry of Commerce, and then moved to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And when we came to the ministry's leadership, we realized that the secretary was not being managed by anybody. We had an individual who runs the day-to-day of the secretary, but there's no accountability upwards. There was nobody who was holding anyone accountable. And so we wrote to the Japanese government and asked the Japanese government that the secretariat please report to the Deputy Minister for International Cooperation, who is responsible for bilateral relationships and bilateral aid and so forth. The Japanese government accepted and since then has been communicating directly with Minister Nien, because the implementer cannot be the same person for the oversight and so forth. So oversight then rested with Minister Nien. There's a steering committee that's chaired by Ministry of Foreign Affairs that includes Ministry of State, Ministry of Finance, PPCC, and LACE, and Commerce. And the steering committee should be making decisions. When we found out about the importation of, the arrival of rice coming last year, the processes were already done, and we indicated that subsequently we will have an open bid, that we have the suppliers perpetually who've been doing the rice, the rice sale, and wanted to open it up to make sure we check to see that anybody else who can carry out the function. And the bid was issued. The coordinator, I'm trying to think of the position, the coordinator for the secretariat then went about doing the process and went about selecting his own committee and implemented a process without oversight. And so the company that won the bid was determined by the coordinators who did not have the experience. And so we went back to look at it, and we felt that the process was not open. So we asked that there be a discussion around that. The steering committee met in the last week. The steering committee met. The steering committee determined that the company that won the bid was actually, they won the bid fair and square, but they agreed that to share the service amongst the three who came within the final of the bid, and let's see how this new company does. So that was the decision of the steering committee. The rice for this term is on its way to Liberia, and the three companies that bidded will be implementing the rice program. Let's indicate here that the Japanese did write to say that they had concerns about the behavior of the coordinator for the program, and they have expressed to us outside of that the need for disciplinary action. Also, the steering committee met and requested the ministry for disciplinary action because the coordinator acted on his own self-appointed committee, self-appointed evaluation, self-appointed, everything was being done without full participation. What we have done to make sure that it's objective, we've asked the Policy Advisory Council of the ministry to look into it, look at the management guidelines for the secretariat, look at the requirements from the Japanese, look at the processes, and then advise before we talk about any disciplinary action. But the rice sale go ahead as planned. What usually happens is the rice sale, the proceeds go to development projects as they've been in the past, and usually determined by the executive, by the president's priorities. And so we look forward to the sale going on as previously planned.
Thank you, Madam Minister. That was an overview from the Minister. It's now time for us to interact. Co-chair, do you have some statements to make before opening up for?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. I think I want to appreciate the Minister for that salient deliberations and explanation. I think it's very clear. It is about time for us to ask the necessary questions so that people can know what is going on in the Foreign Service, because our reputation in the Foreign Service has got some issues. I think this particular engagement is very necessary, and the clarity made by the Minister is very welcoming. Thank you.
Senator, the floor is now open for us to interact. Senator Albert Tubachi, the President Emeritus and the ranking member of this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Minister, you just said that British passports do not confer citizenship. Is that the case in other countries? Because normally, what does passport confer? So the background is that one of the issues for which we said that according to, as we said, unconfirmed news, that we have 60 days to respond to certain concerns, is that we are giving people passports. We are setting citizenship. That's the question. So you are saying that citizenship, that passport, do not compare citizenship. What do they compare?
So passports are travel documents and given for the purpose of travel. The categories of passports, the ordinary passport is for citizens of the country. And one of the issues that we have is that Liberian passports, the ordinary passports, are in the hands of non-citizens. The issue of travel documents is not just about diplomatic passports. Primarily, the problem we have, you'll find people being deported from different countries, coming here and they're not Liberians because many people are imprisoned in countries having Liberian passports, but they're not Liberians. So it's the ordinary passport, Liberian passport, that is used by citizens. The privileged passports, yes, they are used by citizens as well, but that doesn't determine your citizenship. That's why sometimes when you travel, they will ask you for your national passport to know your citizenship, to confirm with your privileged passport. So the privileged passport is, yes, it's used by citizens, but it can also be used by foreigners depending on the function that they carry out. But the issue of passports, as we are assuming by the information we heard from the New York Times, the assumption everybody making is about diplomatic passports. When you're talking about the issue of travelers and selling citizenship, selling citizenship is our ordinary passport. And this is work that we have to do. We're continuing to work on it. But we can tell you that DG Pearson, who is leading the work, can speak more to it. But we have significant problems in this area. Significant problems where people carry out criminality using Liberian ordinary passports.
Madam Minister, just before you continue, if you issue a service passport or diplomatic passport to a non-Liberian, does that passport carry the nationality?
Yes, sir.
So if a Nigerian was issued a service passport, a Liberian issued a service passport to perform a certain service for Liberia, will his Nigerian nationality be stated in the passport?
Yes, sir.
So, because it's on the issues has been that, for example, international drug dealers have carry out diplomatic passports. You have heard about that issue. So, one more question is that other countries, do they do that as well? For example, the USA, the Western countries will give people who are not citizens, the Council General, and give them their passports.
There are countries that do. I don't have a list of countries, there are many countries that do. And I would like to ask
no diplomatic passport.
Yeah, but there are other countries that do. There are other countries. I don't have the list with me, but there are countries that do.
I know you tell which countries do that.
Foreign Minister, know any other country that issued diplomatic passport to non-citizens of that issuing country?
Senator, we can confirm that so many other nationals do perform services for other governments, and we call them diplomatic privileges when they perform those services.
No, sir. The question is not what we issue. The question is there any other country that issuing its diplomatic passport to non-citizens of the issuing country?
It's a common practice, and I can confirm that Sierra Leone does that. I can confirm that Nigeria does that.
Okay, that's what the senator wanted to know.
Yes, no, my first question was not I said Western countries.
I can also confirm
the countries are raising the issue.
I can confirm that this is done by the Australian government, and I can also confirm that it's done widely in Latin America for honorary consuls representing those countries abroad, and also individuals performing special diplomatic services or international services for those countries. So they give them the passport, not conferring citizenship, but to facilitate their access to the various countries they are traveling to.
So if you don't give them passport, there's nowhere else to go. You can't give them the no. Once we give them passport,
diplomatic passport gives you the access that you may need to travel, in particular, in different countries. For instance, if Mr. Senator Abochie is performing a service for the Liberian government and he's not, if John Brown, an American, is performing a service for the Liberian government, perhaps as an international consultant on investment elsewhere, and we need to facilitate his movement, diplomatic passport will do that better and faster than an ordinary passport that he may be carrying.
I want to buttress what you said about Canada. Now, Senator Chair talked about European countries. I can attest to that. But countries within the region, yes. But what they do that you don't do is that if you have issued a privileged passport for a specific mission, after that mission, the passport is retrieved. They take that passport from you. It's a property of the state. It's not yours. Even in other governments, for example in Ghana, after the election, people that had diplomatic passport that was still valid, they had to return the passport to the state and no longer occupy this position or no longer on mission. Unlike us, we gave the passport 2 years, it's your personal property. So I think maybe you might want to speak on that in addition to Senator Chair's concern.
Senator, it's actually part of the passport regulation, and it was a common practice here in Liberia that anyone traveling with a privileged passport, official, service, and diplomatic, immediately upon your return to the country, you return the passport to the designated agency. But it's a larger problem of state capacity. Even it's not only the foreigners that may be carrying it. Even all officials of government carrying privileged passport immediately upon traveling to any other destination to perform services for the government, upon your return, you should turn that passport over. And according to the information we received, it used to be kept either at the airport or kept in the agency you work with or deposited with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But it has been difficult to control that, and it's a larger problem actually of the capacity of our state generally to do this. Senator, for instance, a senator traveling, holds a diplomatic passport, going to an Ecowas function in Nigeria, returning, should immediately turn the passport over. How could we?
Senator is entitled to a diplomatic passport. If a senator is issued a 2-year diplomatic passport, and 1 year after the 2 years, the senator is not re-elected, the senator is required to return the diplomatic passport if your policy is not to issue diplomatic passport to a former senator. So now that the senator will come and return and give the passport. That information is wrong.
So I confirm that senators and officials of government are entitled to send our privileged passports, and senators are entitled to diplomatic passport. But I was speaking of the practice before. The practice before was that when you use your privileged passport, perform a service for the government abroad, and you return, you turn the passport over. That practice broke down along the way, and we are hoping to restore that.
Minister, when was that? When the public official had to travel, and then take the passport back to foreign ministry.
Before the Civil War.
Before the Civil War?
Yes.
How old were you before the Civil War?
It's not about my age. It's not about my present. It's about the information, the practice that we saw and we read in the records.
Mr. Minister, you are on oath to say the truth and nothing but the truth. This hearing is not a prosecution. It is a hearing for understanding and progress in the image and interest of our country. You want to check your information at what time in our history where public officials assigned or issued diplomatic passport will travel out of the country, stay in that position, the passport is expired, and every time they travel, they have to turn it into at the foreign ministry. At what time do they have been in our history? Yeah, Madam Minister.
So we got this information from the most senior Ambassador Wallace he said that was the time when this happened, but however, it is in the passport regulation. I think how we should take it today is as advice. I think we should take it as advice on how to strengthen the processes. I take it very positively. It is in the passport regulation according to legal. It's in the regulations. It's not being implemented, but we can start it from the perspective of those who are not Liberians and the suggestion you're making. So I think these are things we can look at, because we're always looking at how we can strengthen the process. So I think the suggestion from Senator Snow is one for us to look at as a team, to go back and take it and say, how do we strengthen this now to make sure that our passports are not in use? We can always improve on the system.
What determines the validity of the passport as in terms of expiration?
The passport regulations.
So, if you issue a passport to somebody's service passport for a special mission, and the person have done the mission and came back, don't you think it's fair enough or prudent to have that person turn that passport over because the mission for which they were granted the passport or issued the passport was accomplished?
Very good point. In fact, Chief of Protocol and I had this conversation before about a group of people who had to travel for a particular purpose to get a service passport, and the point was discussing, can we just issue it for 3 months or this particular period? The difficulty we had with the passport company was they have to reset the whole system and this and that. We struggled with it, and we ended up having to issue the passports for that. It seemed long duration. But we believe that when we start new passports, which is something that we are working on right now, to start a whole new passport system, to issue new passports, the polycarbonate passports that are more difficult to mimic, more difficult to copy. When we start those, that's something we should be able to do, to be able to limit the time frame to specific periods.
Before we get back to Senator Abachi, when would that be or expected to be?
We have completed you want to come in the GPSA?
Thank you, Senator. Presently, what happened is that we have a contract from another company, and this company is supposed to receive X amount of money for the expiration of that particular contract. So upon that expiration, then we can be able to move forward.
Are we expecting new passports?
We're expecting new passport.
With different new passports?
Yeah, new passport, yeah.
But there will be 3 out of this.
Exactly.
Question to give opportunity to my colleagues, but to another point that you emphasized, which the minister also touched, the purpose of this hearing is not to interrogate you. For all of us to look at our own system, and not starting with you, going back many years, to see how we can improve the system and our country better. So we're asking questions now, we don't need to interrogate you. Thank you.
Senator Thomas Yaya.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I ask a question, I'd just like to piggyback on the issue of the diplomatic passport. Based on my experience, service passport has never been of popular use. Presidents recommend envoys for special mission, and we issue them diplomatic passport. And normally, as the minister said, the diplomatic passport is issued to the envoy, and that title is usually envoy or consultant for specific purpose. Once that mission is over, according to the senators know, the passport is supposed to be returned. But when you look at the level of relationships that are being established in government, from the envoy to the executive, that passport is normally never returned. They keep it. Those who are appointed as consulate generals, they keep their passports because they get diplomatic passports and they perform certain duties. A lot of the European countries, you have one ambassador, 745 countries, so the consul generals are there to assist the ambassadors as the ambassador perform his duties or all duties within 4 or 5 countries. So the consul general gets a diplomatic passport. And as the term expires, the Consul General comes to Liberia and gives our passports needs to be renewed. So we don't normally issue service passport except that. And I'm quiet because, as ministers and governments come in, policies change. That's just part of what I do know about issuance of diplomatic passports. But a senator is always entitled to a diplomatic passport. As well as former ministers, former foreign ministers, they are all entitled to diplomatic passport and not service passport. So, but my question now goes to the passport issuance. We now have how you call it? We now have diplomatic passports that are being issued. The last time the Minister of Foreign Affairs talked about the decentralization of passports from Monrovia to other countries, and I think you talked about Lima County and other parts of Liberia. How far are we with that?
Unfortunately, we haven't started the decentralized passports. We'll start it soon. The challenge we have is linked to what we shared earlier about the passport and the fact that we could change the passport. And if we start it now, before we finalize on the company to go forward with, then we will have to change the system again. Because if we do it now, we have to do it with the current company. We don't know whether the current company will be the one to win the bid going forward. So that's why we haven't implemented it. But we have had missions to the southeast. We've had mission to Banga, and we've had mission to the west, looking at where we can start with decentralized passport services.
Thank you. Thank you. Two more questions, please. We're looking at the Foreign Service Institute. Over the years, Foreign Service Institute trains students, and then those students are deployed within the ministry, and those who have developed experience within the ministry, they move up and they go to Foreign Service. Now, I don't know whether that's the case now, because again, my experience, what I learned recently is that within the executive, people just recommend family members to go and become first secretary and second secretary, and those who are graduated from Foreign Service Institute, they are sticking around and they don't have the opportunity to use those experiences. So where are we now with the relationship between Foreign Service Institute graduates as well as those who are being appointed from the outside of the project?
Skills that will not be about diplomacy. We need different skill sets outside of the diplomatic realm to support the Security Council. But outside of that, we're really pushing to make sure that those who go out have some Foreign Service Institute training beyond just 2 weeks, as had happened with one batch. We want it to be substantive so that those who go out with some knowledge and skills. Now, the truth of the matter is that we have to balance expectations, external expectations with the internal expectations, because we have people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who should be going out, and that's what we're trying to do with this posting we're doing right now. We're trying to make sure that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs sends people out from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, while we also, attract additional talent from outside who get to Foreign Service Institute. But we need to say categorically to everybody listening, please don't go to Foreign Service Institute and go to the post, because you believe that once you go there, you'll be posted outside. We only have limited posts, and it is not to train people to go into foreign services. FSI was created actually for the foreign ministry staff, for foreign ministry staff to be continually upgraded and upskilled. So we're working together with the team at FSI to make sure that we manage this expectation as we want to continue to strengthen the foreign service.
I agree with you. I actually didn't mean that when you graduate from Foreign Service Institute, then you stand on the line to go out. When you graduate, you'll be hired in-house, and the person who has developed the experience in-house will go out into the field. That's what I know Foreign Service Institute to be all about. The other thing is, you have said recently that there are people who have over-served. They stay long in foreign service, and there's a need for them to come back. When you recall them, do they stay on payroll or do you remove them from payroll?
So this is a very, very important question, a very complicated one with huge financial implications. Right now we're battling that, and we just asked the Policy Advisory Council to please advise us to help us figure out how to solve this problem, because when you have somebody who's been in the US for 5 years, 10 years, making $4,000 US, they come back to be desk officer or research analyst or so forth, and the salary is $350, they want the salary they're getting in the United States. And however, when you give it to foreign service diplomats out there as a lump sum, they see it as their whole salary. When they come back, they want the same salary to continue. We don't have the resources to do that. So we've asked the Policy Advisory Council to please help us with some advice on how we can put in place a policy framework that will be institutionalized, it will not be based on individuals, that we can have it consistent. The budget will also have to reflect this, and the budget does not right now as it stands. So we don't have the budget, the fiscal space to be able to address the rotation as required.
Thank you.
Madam Minister, when you recall a foreign service official and not reassign him or her, it's still on your payroll, correct?
Yes, and I would like to ask you to come in.
Thank you very much. It depends on the recall. Somebody recall and say your service has come to an end. So at that point in time, we receive you and then forward you to NASCO for on-war support system for your retirement. There are others that come for coming back to the mission, go to the mission for following assignment. We keep you on the payroll until you are given an opportunity.
The nature of the recall determines whether the person remains on the payroll or not.
That's correct.
Follow up with that, Mr. DMA. You only send someone to NASCO when it turns 60. You only send someone to NASCO when it turns 60. So if you're recalling 40-year-old personnel, how do you forward it to NASCO? At that point, you also need to clarify what happens to them. If the recall is not something that eliminates them.
We said depending on the recall. For instance, if you're a 30-year-old person, call you, if you state that you don't come for foreign example. If you're a 60-year-old person, you will say your service has come to an end. Depending on the recall, we can assign the appropriate or pay you accordingly.
That needs to be reviewed. Minister, that needs to be reviewed. That one language that you send to the person that brings the person to Liberia cannot remove the person from payroll. Thank you.
You want to take that under advisement?
Yes.
Senator Yatwa and Imaka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Minister. I've had a laundry list of questions for you, but your declaration did, eliminate most of the questions. So I'll be sticking to just a few of them, a few clarifications. I will begin with the issue of the communication with the U.S. government or the embassy concerning the purported list that Liberia is on. How long would that take to get an official response from them? And you also mentioned that you officially seen it in the New York Times. Does that constitute an official publication from the U.S. government?
Seeing an article in the New York Times doesn't constitute a communication with the U.S. government. Let me state here that the ambassador, the team here at the embassy in Liberia has been very, very engaging, very supportive. We have a very good working relationship. We're on real time in terms of communication. And they are actually supportive. In fact, when I went to DC, let me just take this, I went to DC to engage the new administration. The support from the embassy was real time. I mean, they advised who I should be, who they felt additionally we should talk to, and so forth and so on. So it's been very good. The communication to the embassy this morning, I expect to get right back to us. We'll be asking them for a meeting, and they have been good about that. We have a very fluid relationship in terms of communication.
You are the dean. You are the dean of the cabinet and the senior advisor to the president. We all are speculating and maybe just thinking ahead, and you are being proactive to think that part of if the list is true, maybe one of the issues that will constitute that list or give rise to that list will be passport issue or other issues related to your ministry. What is the rest of the cabinet doing? What have you advised the president for other sectors? The judiciary, human rights issue, accountability issue, that the cabinet is thinking of now to be proactive so that within the time frame whereby the 60-day time frame we can be able to fully respond if there will be an official communication from the U.S. government outlining things that we need to interpret.
So, hearing this information over the weekend, seemingly I was able to meet the president and inform him about information I was circulating and told him that I was engaging with the embassy. And I've also been in contact with justice, and I'm careful not to run too fast and work along with the American government. They have been very cooperative, I must say. The same thing happened with the list of last deportation. We engaged in the same way. They were very supportive. Like, we only had 49 people listed for deportation. It wasn't part of the last deportation. And of the 49, only 24 had been before an immigration judge. We engaged with ICE on this, and and we've been working with them. And they told us the way we engaged with them, they were very honest and said that the way Liberia is engaging is positive. And so when we went to the State Department, this was a response that we got. The way you're engaging is positive. Let's continue to engage in this regard, and that's what we're trying to do. The administration, however, we did have a cabinet meeting on the U.S. situation in general, the USAID funding situation. The president was very proactive. We first had a smaller cabinet discussion with a smaller group where we looked at the USAID funding situation, and then we had a wider cabinet where we looked at all the sectors played their role. Thanks to the Ministry of Finance led the analysis, looking at the impact, and recommendations were made, and those are being studied now.
The Japanese, just quickly, this maybe the Deputy Minister to throw light on. From all indication, the bidding process didn't conform to certain strict norms of accountability or procedure. Why don't we just cancel and do a deal? What's the logic? If it's not done properly, we cannot be compromising and hiring 3 companies. When something goes wrong, who do we hold responsible? The 3 companies?
Senator, I confirm that the bidding process was fully in line with the PCC and the management guide. The minister asked last year that subsequent projects of the Japanese grant, subsequent consignment, be opened up for public bidding. Previously, it was closed bidding to only a list of major rice importers submitted by the Ministry of Commerce. And we have several other rice importers, major rice importers. That list doesn't include any Liberian company. So the minister said, let's open this up. And it was opened up. Only 3 companies applied. Northwestern Commodity, which based on their documents, they identified as 100% Liberian owned, and 2 other companies, Futa Corporation, United Commodities Incorporated. These are the 2 companies that have been managing this project over time. The Northwestern Commodity offered the highest, $12.50. Futa Corporation and United Commodities offered the same, 11.8. So there were even suggestions that there might have been collusion between the 2 companies and the Secretariat. Notwithstanding, following the evaluation process, the procurement committee decided that given that this company is a new company and it is a Liberian company offering the highest, let's start with them with 20%, and the two original companies 40-40. So the evaluation committee initial assessment was that this company is new, is a Liberian company, doesn't have experience in rice marketing, and doesn't have substantial warehouse. But then the procurement committee made a follow-up to find out that they actually have warehouse and they have been in the business before, not as a major importer as the Japanese counterpart. As the counterpart Value Fund Secretariat had indicated, yes, the PPCC is part of the inter-ministerial committee. The PPCC was
I know steering committee from the PPCC law. Does the PPCC law support such a tripartite arrangement of a bid that should have been bid for by a single individual?
Well, previously, two companies have been applied and the two companies have been implementing the project together, with one carrying 60% and another one 40%. So multiple companies have been doing this project. There was another time when there were also three: UCI, FUTA, and SWAT, SWAT. But then over the last 7 to 8 years, it's been only the two companies. So it is allowed under the law that companies can carry different lots. And every step of the way in this procurement process, the PPCC was informed and they gave their no objection. And they were even part of the inter-ministerial steering committee that approved the recommendations of the procurement committee.
This new company you're talking about, according to your staff, who was on OKFM, he said this company is partly owned by the managing director of the port. Can you speak to that?
The reports that were received indicate that the company is owned by a Ducle, and the managing director of the Freeport initially had shares in the company, and in 2024, he divested his share. The records are there. He left the company, the articles were amended, and we cannot make that judgment. I mean, we only make the decision based on the records that were available. His shares were divested before this bid was announced.
Mr. President, on the overall, is there consignment from time to time? Is it free or a loan?
It is a grant. So which means it's not a loan, you don't have to pay it back, but it's conditioned upon the government of Liberia using this right, monetize it, use the proceeds and invest in an economic activity. So there are so many economic activities that this grant has been used for over the last 15 years.
So when the rest is sold, where does the money go?
The money goes into projects, and the projects are selected by the steering committee.
The Japanese government gives this consignment of rice to Liberia as a grant. It's for the country, right?
Yes.
So when you sell it, it's for Liberia.
Indeed.
Then it means the money generated therefrom, the public money,
yes,
is it deposited through the consolidated account for it to be appropriated according to law?
So the arrangement under this grant is that the government of Liberia every year will establish an account, a special escrow account at the Central Bank of Liberia, where the company selling the rice will deposit the government share of this money after their overhead and administrative costs. And the steering committee will decide on an economic returns project, send this proposal to the Japanese that, number one, we have, for instance, we have 1 million, and these are the projects we want to implement. Following the approval of the Japanese, the government agencies will go in the field to do the implementation.
So if our budget is $10,
yeah,
and you realize $2 from that sale, it got nothing to do with the budget.
Yes, because the condition of the aid is that the aid must be used to finance projects that are not budgeted for under the Liberian government's budget. That is clearly spelled out. Economic
so
investment.
only the executive have everything to do with that rice issue or that consignment issue. The executive alone decides the expenditure with the Japanese government. But when something goes wrong, then you say the government of Liberia and every branch of government just with.
Can I use my time?
Yeah, yes, we want to get something clear here.
So,
They come in the name of Liberia.
yes.
Almost like usage intervention. It doesn't come through the national budget. We do not appropriate it. Only with the executive and NGOs. But then it comes in the name of Liberia and then the entire government gets paid.
So under the arrangement in which the government of Japan provides the aid, the Liberian government uses this monetized rice, use the proceeds to invest in economic activities in the communities. In this light, projects selected.
Mr. Chairman, the foreign minister, your boss, in her intro or overview to us, she said the proceed is used for the president's discretion. Let her read it. That's what she told us. She never talked about any economic activity. Don't go back over her briefing. She said the proceed of the rice, the president's agenda, that's how that money is expended. Ask her, let her read it.
Madam Minister, so what I said, and sorry it's not written, I was speaking in simple yesterday, but what I said was that the funds go to the priorities of the president's agenda. So for example, the arrest agenda for inclusive development is our development agenda. And what they have indicated, the Japanese have indicated, is that projects that are not budgeted for, that can be identified from the president's priorities, the agenda, which is our AID. In that regard, it's not personal agenda, it's the development agenda. That is what, just to clarify. But the condition is for economic benefit. So last year, the banana market and previous
Market with another district. So several other ones. And now currently, the current one is financing the construction of a wood workshop in Nimba County.
So in fact, those projects have been funded by public money generated by the Japanese grant.
Correct.
Can this committee get a full list?
The minister and the other members of the team. There were 3 bidders for the sales of the rice. The newest bidder is fully owned by Liberia, bidder for $12.50. And then the 2 companies that have been dealing with the ministry and selling the rice bidder for $11.80. You decided that the New York company, or the newest company, to take 20% share. I'd like to know at what price are you selling? Is it the $12.50 or is it the $11.80?
So the government intention, because this rice is only going to be on the market for 6 months, you normally don't want to have rice on the market for more than 6 months. And the government intention is actually to sell this within 4 months. So the government sells at $11. That's actually the price the government normally will sell for. So that at the end of the day, this rice, following the markup price or administrative costs, logistics, at the end of the day, the end user price will be a bit under the regular market price, because this is a different type of rice that is coming to the market. It's not the regular rice. So you have to make it, and also it is a brand A. You have to make it competitive, a bit under the standard market price. So the end user price we are looking at the end of the day should be around $16.50. Because
let me just follow up. You have already predetermined that the price of the rice should be $11, according to you. But why did you put up a bid? When you already predetermined that the price of the rice should be $11.
What's the essence of putting it up for a bid? Or did you indicate in the bid document the ceiling?
So there is a price structure, a price analysis, what the government price will be, what the distributor price will be, and what the retail price will be. And that pricing structure has not been determined at the Ministry of Commerce, and is what this project has continuously followed.
That after all of the bidding processes, you decided to give the rights to the companies at the price of $11. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So all that bidding was just for formality?
No, it was not for formality. It was to. It was not formality. It was to select the most responsive bidder. And previously, only 2 companies have been bidding for this right. Well, sometimes 11.50, 11, but always to target a way that it goes in, it becomes competitive, that it is sold under the regular market price.
You put the ceiling already before you open the bid?
No, that was not. The price was not provided. This was an in-house discussion. It was not in the newspaper that this is what you need to bid for.
So who are the beneficiaries of that particular rights? Because it's 11%, that will make the maximum of minimum. Who are benefiting from it?
No, the $11 is not the end user price. The end user price will be somewhere around $16.50.
So in effect, actually, that donation is to benefit the business people who you select as ministry. Because if a donation comes to the country in that quantity, and you're selling it to the businessman for $12, and he's going to sell it for $16, $17, he's actually benefiting.
No, it's not that way.
How is it way? Which way?
The government is giving to a wholesaler who is giving to a distributor. So there are different price margins along the way. So from company X taking from the Freeport of Monrovia, if they are taking from the Freeport of Monrovia at $11, they are taking it out considering logistics, trucking, warehousing. So they take it from the Freeport of Monrovia, give to distributors. And the distributors also have the warehouse. Every price is marked, how much they must charge for this.
Why do we always make things so difficult, all the complicated, all the...
It's because of the laws that are on the books. It's not complicated, it's not difficult.
Which law say when Japan or any country give us donation as in consignment of rice, that we should sell it like that? Which law? Tell me.
What? This project has a management guide that details all of the processes.
Which law, sir?
It's a guide, not a law. It's an administrative regulation that was developed specifically for this project.
Developed by the very people who are administering.
Well, under their fiduciary responsibilities, we met this management guide, and so we intend to just implement it until we can review it. We are open to reviewing this.
We're taking note of all of them. Senator, you have to be concluded.
It's always been. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving back to me. Becoming a normal practice of the community to always have a lot of interjection when I'm questioned. I think I will end on the Japanese rights issue by saying, just reiterating that there should be a comprehensive listing given to us, not only for last year or for the few projects that is new, but several other projects, because this grant issue, the problem with it, precede you exactly. There were times that people who serve in your position and project managers were in trouble for this in the past. So you claim our attention with the good work that you guys are doing so that we can set the record straight on this issue moving forward. My last question was centered around travel. Probably the Chief of Protocol will answer that last one quickly. Concerning November, what qualifies one for November? And how long does it take, for example, for a government official or a citizen traveling on a government function, through the visa process with November? Who qualifies? And what type of invitation or
function qualify you for?
So, since I can actually just make one statement in addition to the last point of the rights before I hand over to you. One of the challenges we faced as a new administration is getting, I would say, cooperation from the Secretariat of His Rights, who felt that it's been their entity for the longest time, nobody should change anything. And I'm glad the discussion is happening because this is something we've been trying to address. And the reason why we're at this place is because the rights is already almost here. And we need to make sure that we don't do anything that will cause us to lose the opportunity. However, as Mr. Nye said, we really are open to reviewing the management guide. The management guide was developed, I think, two or three terms ago, governments ago, administrations ago, or something like that, or 4 administrations ago, in 2011 or so. We also feel it needs to be reviewed. We've raised this with the Japanese, the fact that we don't like the way that it's been operated separately and in a way that, we just felt the system needed to be strengthened. That's why we had an input on Honorary and try to get some involvement. It's not perfect, but we do believe that it needs to be reviewed and to look at it and so that we strengthen it. The Japanese are concerned that they are being smeared. They raise this. They feel that they've been helping Liberia, and all of a sudden that they are being smeared wrongly and they don't like it. And so we also have a responsibility to the Japanese to make sure that they are comfortable that what they are doing is helping the Liberian people. So I just want to register that we are open to that engagement. We also discuss how we can strengthen this process so we maximize it. Chief of Protocol, please respond in the program.
An issue to officials of government traveling on official matters, or should be traveling on official matters. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs gets these requests from entities like the Senate and other government entity requesting, and we do ask that invitations are attached with the details, and then we process. We always informed applicants that most embassies would prefer 2 weeks before your travel date that the requests are made.
Upon a request
To you, how long does a NOVA take to process to the embassy? Because that is an issue. And don't ask me how do I know. I've been involved with it. It's been a little bit good in recent times, but my prior positions in government and my experience has shown that you practically need to walk yourself through your own NOVA and administrate most of the time. How has it improved?
As far as I know, NOVA don't stay more than a day in my office. The request don't stay more than a day. It stays more than a day if there's an issue and the expediter is giving the information about the issue. Sometimes they won't come back to you all to tell you what the issues are, and then it delayed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With that, I'll yield back. Thank you.
For protocol, we'll hold a whole session with your department. The protocol is under the Committee on Foreign Affairs. The protocol in the Republic needs some serious workshop, so to speak. It is a very concerning issue as well. But I think this hearing will want to focus on the visa issue and other stuff. So we'll take a whole time with your department. A lot of stuff. We have a big time. Senator Amara, Senator Badikwa, and Senator Mateo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Madam Minister, thank you for the overview that you gave to this committee. My main questions have to do with our relationship with the United States. Our perhaps primary partner in the bilateral space for Liberia, but also very traditional in many ways historically. I want to encourage you and your team to consider reform because the time the grant was consummated, that period in our post-conflict reconstruction, and today are far from it. So that's one. Secondly, with the disruption in U.S. foreign assistance to the world, including our country, this is every penny counts. The utilization, the reprogramming to support the most important programs in the IRS agenda for inclusive development, which is the country's target development agenda, is critical. So I encourage you to push for reform with commerce and everybody on that side. Having said that, I want to come back to the big news today. Like you rightly said, the New York Times reported and they cited a big memo. Now, Madam Minister, we cannot overlook anything that President Trump and his administration, or whatever we hear about them in America today, because anything can happen. Anything. He's disrupting the United States system of governance since the end of World War II. So, Liberians listening to us today, particularly those who might be thinking about traveling, maybe 90 days from now, should they be worried that after 60 days, they might go to the embassy and say, no, you can't go to the United States? I think we need to answer that. And I'm coming to that question from the backdrop that when the very Liberian people changed regime in 2023, in the transitional period, the very United States complained about our passports. You'll recall, me and you were not me. It was about passport, foreign affairs, central bank, finance, those three agencies. The Americans had serious intelligence about the way business was conducted in those three agencies. Other reports show that they were right, but it's not the at some point. And then the diplomatic passport issue, you took some action. Why are we still talking about diplomatic passport today, 1 year later? That was a question.
So, thank you, Senator. When I started, I shared with you a list of actions that we've taken over the last 1 year. And many of those actions have been with the U.S. in seeking their support, in seeking their cooperation to strengthen our passport system and to strengthen, most importantly, the intelligence system to support the passport issuance. And I'll share that we engage with the security personnel, including the CIA. We've been engaging very deeply, and this engagement is still ongoing. We will continue to have a conversation on passports until we fully change passport and put in place a brand new system. It is work in progress. But I want us to note all that has been done. A lot has been done. And I want us to know that because of those conversations that you and I had during that transition, that's why immediately within 2 weeks of taking office, 2 to 3 weeks of taking office, we started with the US and started engaging them on the issue of passports. On the issue of the visa restriction, should Liberians expect in 60 days they won't have visa access to America? I don't think so. I'm giving you my honest opinion. Why? Because I believe that with all that we've indicated in the demarche to the US to remind them of all that we've been doing, discussing with them, been doing and so forth and so on, I believe that this maybe came from a place, if it's true, if the list is true, a place of lack of adequate information on all the steps we've taken, and that's why we're sharing the steps with them, informing them, for example, the steps we've taken on ICAO, PKD, I'm not so sure they were aware of the Ecowas steps we are taking, but also we need to be aware of the issue of overstay. Now, this is something where we're discussing the security issues. The U.S. government continues to remind us about our overstay rate in the United States, including from officials with privileged passports that go to the U.S. and do not return. Go and overstay, and it's causing the country as a whole a problem. Our bigger problem on visa is not from the passport. Our biggest problem on visa is overstay. And we have to acknowledge that problem and work on it together. Now, we've gone to the extent of having meetings with the consular section to understand how they define overstay. We asked them, how do you define overstay, so we can educate our population. They indicated to us that when you do your interview at the consular section and you tell them you're going for 2 weeks and you're going to, for example, Philadelphia for 2 weeks and you're coming back. Of course, when you get to the border point of entry, you are given 6 months. And so a person is told, you have 6 months, and they go with the thinking that they have 6 months. They may have a relative in Atlanta or one in Minneapolis to get a ticket to go and visit. They're not seeing maybe a month. But they still come out within 6 months. For us, from our perspective, it's not overstaying. They told us no. It actually means that person shouldn't even go back to the US because they're not credible. Because when they came to the window, they told us they were going for 2 weeks. And regardless of how much they're given at the point of entry, they should have come back, or they should have indicated to us that I went for the 2 weeks, but I had X, Y, and Z, and so I'm indicating to you that I'll be staying a little bit longer than what I told you that they go by that in terms of going back to get a visa the second time. So you find many people are denied visa when they go back. You see, but I went to America already, I've been denied. They told us it's because of issues like that. So it will require for all of us to work together to strengthen the visa situation with the US. But overstay is a major problem.
Senator, come here 1 second. Right on that visa issue, Madam Minister, when doing your confirmation, was asking the Senator still with the issue that we're addressing. And we got to be very, very courageous with some of these things. We are leaders of this country, and we should not shy away from standing up for our people. At the U.S. Embassy here, the treatment our people have to honor go here at this embassy is dehumanizing. It is completely out of order, complete lack of respect for even the human dignity. And I must state it here today as a senator. Call our people, they are outside to get water rain beating them or not, and all that thing. Madam Minister, we embrace this issue. What are you doing about it? Every time American put on one paper, the whole country shaking. When are we going to shake for America to do the right thing for us as well?
Senator Dillon, you are right in your recounting of the events. You and Senator Snowden raised this to me, and we had several meetings with the U.S. where we raised this issue with them. They informed us that they had erected I would call it an area they erected, like a booth or something. They told us that they had responded to our request. People were not using it. We raised the issue as recent as last week, and I don't have the date handy, but last week I asked for a meeting with the U.S. and we raised this issue again and said that we still are not satisfied with the conditions. Not only that, we went further besides the condition under which people wait. And we share with them, we know that, this is how they structure everywhere around the world and so forth, but we have a concern about it. We also raise the way people are treated at the interview, how people are disrespected at the interview and so forth. We raised it to the U.S. ambassador and with the advisor on political and economic affairs. And the same day, I received a response from the ambassador last week that they had taken it up with the consular section and they are looking into it and they will refer it. I just want you to encourage you and the Liberian people that we are working on this issue. Is something that we've addressed head on, and it's something we follow up. As recent as last week, we had a meeting with the U.S. Embassy, and the same day the ambassador came back to say they are looking at it. We gave them an example of how a representative from this country was treated. Representative gave us a complaint. He went to be interviewed, and they looked at his ring. His ring was Masonic, and then they said, what is this? He explained what it was, and what is it about, and so forth. Bam, 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 you're denied. We shared that example. And we said the level of disrespect that some people receive, and we also talked about the fact that our officials should be treated with respect. They should be interviewed in a private area, because you cannot be having our legislators, just as recent as last week, we shared this. Our legislators cannot be standing there with their constituents, and asking them personal questions and so forth. And so we raised this. The indicated to us that they reconfirmed to us that there's a way where people of certain class, I won't use the word class, but certain status will be given a private interview. So we are addressing this issue, Senator.
Prime Minister, does it have to be a representative, or senator, or minister? The ordinary citizens are also treated the same. Everybody pays that visa fee, especially if you go on a private visit. The visa fee is paid by a senator, the visa fee is paid by a representative, the visa fee is paid by a minister, the visa fee is paid by the ordinary man down there. Let's fight for a holistic approach to the whole thing when it comes to treating our people with some level of decency and respect at the end of it. Senator, Corner, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Still on the diplomatic passport. Madam Minister, can you assure the Liberian people, can you assure this committee that our diplomatic passport is not in the hands of any criminals or in the hands of any citizens from countries that are blacklisted on the U.S. list for criminal activities, including narcotics and human trafficking and otherwise? Can you assure us of that?
I can assure you that this team is working diligently to make sure that every diplomatic passport we issue for foreigners is vetted by the National Security Agency. No passport is for sale, and we are working to look at the intelligence aspect to identify if there are possibilities that our passports are being duplicated somewhere, and that's why we have to change the passport. I can guarantee you that this administration, there's no passport for sale, and every one that we're issuing, we're giving the check with NSC.
Thank you for that. Then my next question would be then, our country has been the focal point of the United States, this enchantment with foreign aid. It seems that our historical relationship with the U.S., based on the president utterances, Mr. Elon Musk's utterances, posting about Liberia, every opportunity they had to justify the dismantling of USAID, Liberia was mentioned. As a country, building on Senator DeLong's argument about the treatment of our people, this could be misconstrued and cause serious reputational damage to our country and our image for something that we didn't do because U.S. money doesn't come through our budget. So, as our chief diplomat, how do you plan fixing that? How do you plan fixing that? What is being done here in Monrovia with the embassy to provide clarity to the White House and the State Department that now has some control over USAID? And in your opinion, as our chief diplomat, do you think it's about time that we redefine our relationship with the United States?
So what I would say is that the United States has made it clear what their foreign policy direction is under the new administration. There are 3 criteria that the United States have made it clear that they use to determine how they engage with countries. The action they take, will it make America safer? Will it make America stronger? And will it make America more prosperous? If they don't fit those 3 categories, they're not going to do it. Now, the actions that they've taken with USAID, there are some windows that we've identified, such as waivers, or what you classify as humanitarian action and so forth. What we've been able to do is to work along with the team here. We're pushing this, and thanks to the ministers who head these sectors, they have not been sleeping on it. And so for health, and education, agriculture, all the sectors where this is a major issue, they've been working with the U.S. as well directly. And we've asked for waivers on things. Okay, but waivers have been requested We work together, so that's why I have to say it. We work together.
You define the waiver.
So, for example, a waiver was asked for the medical store because you know the U.S. has been supporting essential drugs and the management of the medical store. HIV drugs through PEPFAR, we've been reliant on this. So some of these have been looked at favorably, and this is work in progress. Also, the military-to-military cooperation continues unhindered. But to answer your question more directly in terms of what we're doing, we're continuing to engage, and that's how come I have this information, because we're engaging. We're still pushing and pressing. Why Liberia has been used as an example for some of the cuts they're making, I cannot tell you that. I do not have the answer to that. But what I can say is what's within my control to do, and that is to continue to engage diplomatically, bilateral diplomacy, and so forth, for us to continue work, including with those on the Hill and other interlocutors who have an inroad into the new way of working now. In terms of redefining our relationship, we are right now working on a new foreign policy statement. We have a draft that's now with the ambassadors. The Policy Advisory Council has helped us with a draft. It's with the ambassadors for their input, and it will then go to the committees for the two committees for input before it goes back to the cabinet as a cabinet people for approval. The foreign policy statement will be now saying this is how Liberia wants to proceed in terms of a relationship around the world, and it's about how we engage, and that will determine who we engage with. That will determine what's in the best interest of the Liberian people. And so, what I can say to you is that we are working on it, and I'm not saying it just superficially. The document is actually with the ambassadors now for their input. It will come to the two committees for input before it goes to the cabinet. And in redefining relationships and how they should be redefined, we'll have to do that. The president, who is the chief architect of our foreign policy, will have to make some decisions. But I can tell you that we are looking at the best interest of Liberia and Liberia's positioning and how Liberia engages. Concrete example, for some people have understood, some people have not understood, but we recently had to do a vote for the last 3 years that has been Liberia standing with Ukraine. Our president, the chief architect, had a call with President Zelensky and pledged his support to Ukraine, and we've been supporting along with other partners, including the US. On the eve of the vote, we were asked to take a different position. The decision was made that we continue to stand where we said we'll stand, because Liberia is a sovereign country that's standing there based on principles. And so the accusation that people make that Liberia has no foreign policy position, it just is a puppet flying in the wind, we're trying to correct that to make sure we define it more clearly, to make sure that the Liberian interest is preserved.
Madam Minister,
How did Liberia vote?
Liberia co-sponsored the Ukraine resolution, as we have been doing the last 3 years. We've been voting with Ukraine, and Liberia did the same thing this year to show consistency and commitment to the principle that we agreed to.
yeah, I was going to say back on this redefinition of our relationship with the United States. I mean, you recall our Independence Day orator, that speech really demonstrated to all of us, the leaders of this country, that our citizens are yearning for a redirection in our engagement with the United States. To that extent, they don't feel it. I think in every crisis, there are opportunities. If Mr. Trump is disrupting the U.S. government, which is good for them, he's protecting his country, he's slapping other countries with tariffs and so on, what's the other? I think it's important for us.
But you said, go ahead, listen to my point of order. I think so the point of use of certain foreign president cheated out this level.
What is it?
I said Mr. Trump, I said disruption.
Disruption?
Yeah.
It's all
No, I think you should. Like you said, I don't use. Don't tell me not even that my point of order was valid.
Well,
the word disruption does not sit well with me about a foreign president. And you can raise a point of order. It's okay.
Thank you.
Whether it's a disruption or a different policy,
No
it's
argument about this.
You
You made an order, and the order is overruled.
yeah, but then other people respect the order, and the gentleman from Bible continue. Why didn't I talk?
Free to continue.
You know, sometimes we have disruptive businesses like Tesla, like the same thing that we had in Liberia now with the Elon Musk company. Starlink is disruptive because it gives last mile connectivity to villages and so on in the world. So it's not a bad word, Mr. Senator. So Mr. Trump is disrupting the way the American governance system works for the benefit of this country. And those of us who have relied on the United States support for centuries, Madam Minister, we need to start thinking about what to do for the next 10 years. It's important. I just wanted to say that. So in that light, I want to ask you, what is our relationship with China? We also heard about re-establishing relationship with Russia. How is that going? Question.
So, Mr. Senator, thank you for the question. Has been further clarified as being a question. The response to that is it is work in progress in terms of redefining our foreign policy direction. We are redefining that now. Our relationship with China has upgraded our relationship to a strategic partner over the last months. And this means it provides more opportunities for us to engage deeper in relation to funding. The United States of America is a traditional ally of Liberia, and we cannot forget that. The United States of America has had long-reaching relationship with Liberia. How we define that relationship going forward should be based on how we see the benefit to the Liberian people, but not forgetting the fact that they are a traditional ally. We know for right now, a lot of the relationships are about transactions. We know that a lot of the issues are about business and so forth and commerce. And we had a discussion with the State Department when I was there recently with Mr. Kone. And we shared with them that we want to have the Liberian-US dialogue. It has to have a political aspect, it has to have an economic aspect. And what we discussed is that the State Department and the Assistant Minister, sorry, not Senator, Assistant Minister Christiana Kone. She was part of the delegation. But what we discussed is that we need to have that dialogue. It needs to be a frank dialogue. State Department will come to Liberia, and we talked about it being in July, where they'll have more clarity on their side in terms of where they stand with aid and all of that. And in that dialogue in Liberia, we'll also be having a Bridge to Prosperity program in terms of economic diplomacy. We're looking at an investment roundtable with some US companies at the same time. So they're looking at what makes them prosperous, what makes them stronger and safer. We're looking at how we develop Liberia. We find a common ground within that, and we engage around that. But I cannot sit here today, not being the chief architect of foreign policy, to say that this specifically is how the relationship will be shaped. I cannot do that, but it's work in progress.
I asked the question about Russia, and I want to go on record. For those who are following the Ukrainian and the Russian negotiations to end their conflict, we all know the line of the United States. We appreciate the United States traditional partnership with us. We appreciate that. But I just want to emphasize again that as an independent country, there are opportunities in these dynamics where we see that the U.S. president wants peace in Ukraine, but the Ukrainians are pushing back because in this war. I think our country needs to be open to that as well. We should not limit ourselves in this new President Trump's war order. I said President, Mr. Senator. President Trump's war order that Liberia does not become a victim of an invincible geopolitics. I really think that the foreign policy, a new direction, should think about that. Which brings me to your economic diplomacy. And when you appear before us here for a confirmation, you talk about it, we were all happy about it. We know that one of your predecessors, Minister King Honorary, she had development diplomacy. To me, that was a big success. I had the privilege of serving with her in cabinet. I think this economic diplomacy is a good thing, but it's even now the right thing to push because of what is happening. I mean, you're talking about more than $100 million that we're going to be losing. It's good to be honest with the Liberian people. This USAID thing is going to disrupt healthcare delivery in our country. It's going to disrupt education services in our country, and so on and so forth. In the election, if we don't pivot right now and begin to think outside of the box and create and be innovative in terms of raising money to support these programs. So can you bring us up to speed? What have you done to date on this new economic diplomacy front that we can look to over the next 3-4 years that Liberia will benefit from it? It will help to fill some of the gaps that the USAID action will be causing.
Thank you, Senator. On the first point in relation to the question on Russia, if you can recall, there was some frenzy around Russia some months back last year when we participated in the Russia-Africa meeting with the participation of Ms. Anyem. And we went to that meeting as part of the African bloc because we felt very strongly, especially if we're vying to be a member of the Security Council, we should be engaging with everybody. Liberia should have a relationship with all member states of the United Nations. To some degree, we will define what the relationship needs to be, but we should be talking to everybody. We went just to participate in that meeting with the African bloc in Russia. In the course of whole frenzy, people were lambasting us for turning to Russia, just because we went to participate in the African meeting. So I share this to say that the mindset in relation to bilateral relations and where the world is now in 2025, where we are right now, especially with the evolving multipolarity of the geopolitics. We like Liberians as a whole, we need to open our minds, similar to what you are saying, we need to open our minds to the vast world. Now, I think that's what economic diplomacy. For us, economic diplomacy is opening that doorway and being more intentional about engaging foreign direct investment and handing them over to NIC and the development ministries and so forth to do their part. And what we've been doing, for example, intentionally, every country we go to, even if it's for UNSC campaigning, we engage Chamber of Commerce or the Business Association and say, Liberia is open for business. Concretely, I can tell you in the last 2 months, we've received at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs companies that were engaged last year who've come to engage with NIC and others now, or the sectoral ministry. Just today, before coming here, I received a team from Burkina Faso. Within 1 month, the team from Burkina Faso is here. They're interested in the bank. They're interested in other areas of investment. We're looking south-south because at the end of the day, we've always been looking to the West. And right on this continent, Africans are investing in Africa. And so we're being more intentional about it. In fact, I'm doing a memo to Chamber of Commerce, NIC, and Business Association today to inform them that we met the Malian head of the Business Association who has interest, including in Farmington and other tourism and so forth. So this is actively happening. We are receiving delegations and handing them over to where they're supposed to go. It's too early to say what we have concretely materialized from that, but the engagement will continue, informing people that Liberia is open for business. We want to have investors from the continent. That's what's happening in Rwanda. You see now Rwanda, all Africans can go visa-free because of that push for African investments. Africans have resources they can invest in this country and create jobs. We're also engaging with others as well. But economic diplomacy is important for development. And if we don't join forces with NIC, Commerce, Trade, and Commerce and Business Association and others to attract companies to Liberia, we'll find it difficult. Right now in Ghana, the Ghanaian ambassador, our ambassador to Ghana is planning a investment roundtable there, inviting NIC and others to come and meet with businesses in Ghana that have Ghana thriving, encouraging them to come to Liberia. Also with Sierra Leone, we discussed implementing one common market. Talking to businesses, when you come into Liberia and Sierra Leone. So you're looking at the economies of scale for these countries. MRU is 60 million people. If we're looking at MRU as a block and talking to investors, that's what we're doing now. We're saying come to Liberia as an entry point to Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, and Sierra Leone. So economic diplomacy is about us being intentional about supporting the efforts of the other ministries and sectors in getting investments to Liberia. And we look forward to all of you supporting doing that. The more we can do this and investors come to the country and they are treated well, they don't experience extortion, they don't experience all kinds of things that will make them run from the country. The more we can create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, the better it will be for our people to create jobs, and that's the role we're trying to play.
Last question. In your opening, you told us that embassies were experiencing capacity issues, particularly the U.S. That's in paraphrase when you said that you talked about the depth of capacity at our embassy in Washington. Besides the U.S., we have other key embassies around the world, in Europe, in Asia, and so on. What are you doing to address this problem? And do you see the future for Liberia in Latin America? And then finally, tell us about the MRU, because it's a big part of the original diplomacy, and we'd like to know how you're working with your counterparts to resuscitate. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator. On the issue of Latin America, the discussions we've been having, especially in the wake of the Security Council campaign we've been doing, we realized that we have not tapped into the potential in Latin America, which we intend to do, starting with Brazil. But there are many other Latin American countries that we need to be engaging with. Also, even the Pacific, the islands and so forth, would be amazed what we've been missing out, for example, with Barbados. We signed the agreement with Barbados now, but Barbados is interested in our sardines. They import all their sardines, and we have some of the best sardines in the world. Now, what does people take and carry it to other parts of the world? We don't even see it on the shores of Liberia. So we're engaging with these countries with that outlook to strengthen, from an economic diplomacy perspective, to strengthen trade and so forth. But in terms of investments, Latin America has huge potential that we have not tapped into, which we intend to tap into. Also, the point you make in relation to Latin America is very important. Also, beyond economic diplomacy, cultural diplomacy and other areas that can open up doors for engagement and for job creation. So we will be working on that as we go through the UN Security Council campaigning process. We'll identify some countries in Latin America that we'll visit to engage around the votes. Also, Ambassador Luis Brown will be meeting the entire Latin American bloc in New York as we're all campaigning and trying to strengthen some of those relationships. I would say that I'm prayerfully optimistic that after 177 years,
Madam Minister,
Uncle Brother,
the finance minister came here and he passed on top of prayer. He took the whole hearing, bring on top of prayer, and tell what he's doing.
Let me say that we are very optimistic that with the campaigning we're doing, and you will see some of the countries we're visiting, for example, we're doing Burkina, Mali, Niger, being very intentional about the African bloc, because Africa feels that many African countries have said they don't trust us, that we'll just follow the US and Israel.
Mali, Burkina, Niger, are they happy with us?
Mali
in the ECOWAS bloc?
What I can say to you is that Burkina already has companies here today looking at investment, and it has been going very well, I must say. We are trying our best, and we hope that for the first time, being a founding member of the UN, we're the only founding member that has never sat on the Security Council for a full term, never. We hope to correct that during this administration. If this is not for President Boyka, it's not for Sarah Beslo Nyanti, this is for Liberia. As a country void of politics, ethnicity, religion, it's Liberia. And every patriotic Liberian should want Liberia to be on the Security Council, because it will open doors for us economically. What Sierra Leone is experiencing now, with everybody trying to get their money, trying to talk to them because they're on the council and people are interested in voting and so forth. This is what we want for Liberia. We want Liberia to be on that stage of global decision making and relevance, so that we can advance economic opportunities for the country.
Go to Senator Patikwa. Madam Minister, well, all these things are happening, and the government of the United States taking some shot at Liberia. Why is your ambassador not a post yet in DC? And what is happening to the investigation of sale of diplomatic passport from the previous government? Where are we with that?
On the issue of Ambassador Conte taking office, we had resource constraint 1. Number 2, he had to go to Nigeria to be able to round up there, because he had come to Liberia to serve at LU. He needed to go back to Nigeria to do the proper diplomatic process for rounding up. He'll be headed to the US as soon as possible. On the previous investigation on passports, I will leave the details to mention anything, but I believe that some of the discussions we are having, which we said we cannot have openly here, will necessitate close to conversation, but we can go ahead.
Senator, as the minister said, we're able to do some background and got sources. These sources are being able to give us information on the trend of the passport. So we don't want to explain that here. We've got sources, and the sources will be working along with our partners, and then from there maybe in-house.
Mr. Pearson, it's got to 4 years. You inherited an issue, you committed doing your hearing for confirmation to follow this investigation and bring it to closure and hold people accountable. What's happening?
I don't want to explain in details here.
Security.
Please.
Is there an ongoing investigation?
It is an ongoing investigation along with the.
How long has it been?
We've been on an investigation for about a month.
This matter came on about 4 years ago, in 2020, when you were NSA director. And you said you've been only about a month ago.
I don't understand which of the investigation you're talking about.
So which investigation you talking about?
Okay, the investigation I'm talking about the issue of people selling and buying diplomatic passports.
So under the previous administration, for which a former passport director was sanctioned by the US government. You were NSA director at the time.
Yes, I was.
And the government of Liberia, under President Weah, with Kimaya as Minister of Foreign Affairs, announced the launch of an investigation. During your confirmation hearing under this administration, these issues were raised, and there were commitments to resurrect those issues for closure and for people to be brought to book where applicable. Where are we?
That investigation talking about each reference to one group. That investigation was completed and forwarded to court. You ever went to court? That investigation was sent to court.
The sale of passport involving the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, alleging with DeWitt Gray and Comfort Sawyer.
No, not about the investigation. I know the issue of Yempo, we sent it to court.
So there is no active investigation regarding that issue that led to the sanctioning of one group?
The issue of one group, that was we had a team that came from the States, and we all worked together, reference that investigation, and so a report was made, found the Minister of Justice, and I just want to report.
Okay, the Committee on Security and Judiciary will follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine is just only 3 concerns. I will just ask all of them so that we can respond to them. One is, I've heard you indicate about 3 different times the act of business entities coming from Burkina Faso to Liberia. You also mentioned Mali and Niger. Since Ecowas is an economic community, countries that is made businesses coming from there, we did not handle our relationship with Ecowas. That's number one. Number two is, let me be direct with the issue of impasse. Many previous speakers made it there with me. But to be specific, as senator, can I use my diplomatic passport as a result of your engagement to go to the United States now? Number two. My last one is, since you are responsible for economic cooperation and countries that are supporting us in our development process, is there any information that you have regarding our relationship with India, for which the Body Army issue has not been fostered? Is there any information that we got regarding China, for which the overhead bridges that they said were going to start in March cannot start? Is there any information for the project that in Southeast cannot start? What are the process and what are the factors that are hindering these commitments made by these international countries?
Thank you. Senator, can I please? Okay. Senator Cyrus, can I please be allowed to make a comment on Senator Cornyn's last question on MRU before I address Senator Cornyn?
Minister.
Okay. On the MRU, Senator Cornyn, very important question. Liberia has played a leading role in MRU's revitalization, and Liberia convened a meeting here for the Department of Revitalization in 2024, and Liberia subsequently has been pushing the strengthening of the MRU. We were able to, in 2024, we were able to lead a process for the 4 foreign ministers to sign a roadmap with Morocco, which includes funding for the construction of the Monrovia Union Secretariat. That effort has been acknowledged by different MRU countries where Liberia is leading on the efforts of strengthening the MRU. So just wanted to come back to that, Senator. On the point of Ecowas and Burkina Faso, Mali, Liberia is one of the countries that was, I think, were the first to raise the need for dropping the sanctions on those countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Guinea. In the plenary at Ecowas, when this was discussed, we requested that the sanctions be lifted. We also have been doing bilateral diplomacy. We didn't offer Liberia as a host, Monrovia as a host city for a meeting of foreign ministers for the AES countries and Ecowas. Also discussed the implications of the withdrawal. I'm happy to announce that the Burkina Faso Captain Traoré was open to this and happy about it. I just met the Malian traditional president. He also was open to it, and he said it's in line with the discussions that we're having. So Liberia is playing a role in terms of trying to engage and make sure, as I said to them, I will say here, beyond organizational structures, we are families. And Liberia has tribes that came from the Malian Empire, mine being one of them, the Bai tribe. We are families within West Africa. So whether you have ECOWAS, you don't have ECOWAS, you still have families, you have countries, you have territories that need to be able to to relate. We have over 40,000 Burkinabes in Liberia. So how do we have movements of people? How do you have movements of people outside of the ECOWAS structure? We have to sit and discuss as foreign ministers, and they were all open to this. It's something that we're discussing with ECOWAS actively, how we can engage. So there's no issue with us engaging with Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger as bilateral, in terms of bilateral cooperation, no issues at all. And ECOWAS has made it very clear, even the ECOWAS protocol still apply for the free movement of people amongst the regional ECOWAS countries. You can feel free to use a diplomatic passport. But let me say, to ask for visa for the US, but let me clarify something. Diplomatic passport does not necessarily mean that you have a diplomatic visa. Very important distinction. People think that once you have a diplomatic passport, you automatically get a visa because it's a diplomatic passport. No. The purpose of your visit determines the type of visa you're supposed to have and the type of passport you can put the visa in. And people mix this up. So if the purpose for which you go into the country is not diplomatic, they will not give you a diplomatic visa. They will ask you for a regular tourist visa. But yes, you can feel free to use it for diplomatic purposes. Also, I've clarified with the US counselor that the legislature, the Senate, the senators and representatives, you have constituents in the diaspora. And one of the strategies of this administration, the president's vision, his priorities for the AID, is that diasporans will play a critical role. And so the legislature needs to travel to meet constituents in the US, and they should be considered as official because your constituents are in that particular country. We've clarified this with them, and we hope it has helped to improve on the understanding, because when we had this discussion, they said they weren't aware of this, that the constituents need to be engaged. I said diaspora relations is part of strategies. We see that the diasporans invest in Liberia, we help the development agenda. So I hope this helps also with you all trying to engage as for your travel. On the bilateral cooperation, we talk about China, India, and so forth. I will let Mr. come in addition to that, but I can say that we've engaged with India. India had made some promises before that were never materialized. We have had recent meetings with India to discuss. There was a 60 million they wanted to give to the conference center, so forth, and so on. Different promises they have made years ago. We've revitalized the discussions with India, and it's ongoing.
That process is also ongoing, Honorable Senator, as you've seen over time, some of the areas have been cleared. So that is now the Ministry of Public Works to continue the engagement with the contractors and the Chinese embassy. Relations with China has been elevated to a strategic partnership since the last FOCA, the Forum on China-Africa Relations. And the Chinese have proposed to Liberia to sign an economic partnership agreement and investment promotion agreement. And these two agreements have been reviewed by
What was it before the strategic level?
Well, it was just a bilateral and diplomatic relationship. So the elevation to a strategic partnership gives you access to so many other opportunities, and you could sign economic partnership agreement, investment promotion agreement, which elevate the relationship between your sectoral agencies and Chinese sectoral agencies. Then, with other countries, we just met our strategy in portraying the Minister of Economic Diplomacy initiative. We've been meeting some embassies here asking about opening of new frontiers in our relations. In addition to our diplomatic relations, we should have more engagements on the economic front. So over the last 3 weeks, we've had meetings with the Egyptian, the Indians, and the British, mainly on investment promotion between Liberia and their countries. With Morocco, we've gone even further. The Moroccans invited us in January. We took an entire economic delegation to Morocco, where we met strategic stakeholders. There were private sector. Chamber of Commerce was in that delegation. We met stakeholders, we met factories in agro processing, we met oil producers, and then other traders. So that relationship is quite ongoing. And then a Moroccan delegation, or business delegation from Morocco, is expected to come here on speculation in April. And then they will be visiting the agriculture, the mining, and the oil producing sector, LPRC, LEC, NOCAR, the agro-industrial processing companies, the smaller ones that we have, and also producers of perhaps agricultural products to export to the Moroccan market. That discussion is quite advanced. So when they come, we expect them to sign a partnership with companies, not necessarily with the government. And then the Egyptian, we've also started a discussion with the Egyptian to invite an Egyptian trade delegation to Liberia. They have initially invited us to Egypt, but because of the position of our mission, that mission is severely understaffed at the moment. So we've told them to wait until the ambassador can be appointed and support staff. So we are expecting that mission to come to Liberia and visit strategic sectors and explore opportunities. There is also the discussion with India on establishing a diplomatic presence for Liberia in India, which will also facilitate or accelerate our economic engagement with the Indians.
Just to add also, in terms of the request for diplomatic missions, we're asking the countries as part of the bilateral cooperation to give us a chance to give us a residence for ambassador and of at least for 3 years until we can, take responsibility. So that's part of the bilateral request that we've made to these countries, and we're hoping that they will honor it. And lastly, I just want to add, Senator Kone, on economic diplomacy, I didn't mention this. A very big investment meeting is being planned in Brussels by our embassy there. It's been delayed because of the need to get the ambassador there first before we have it. But we've also we had discussions with the EU about this, and now initially it was for Benelux, just Belgium and Netherlands and Luxembourg, but now for the entire EU, looking at having European companies coming to Brussels to engage with Liberia to invite them.
This is good because I think Europe has overtaken the US and China as Liberia's most trading partner. Most of our exports today are going there. I think the World Bank recent reports show that. So I think this is really good in your economic diplomacy.
Yes, thank you. So we hope to have it. We hope to have it in sometime between April and July. The team is working on it, waiting for the ambassador to arrive. The concept paper has been done. When I was in Brussels, I engaged with the EU on it. They were excited.
You invite the Foreign Affairs Committee there, and the Commerce Committee.
Yes, we'll definitely look to make those invitations, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Prime Minister, good afternoon to you and your team. So I'll be engaging you on a series of issues. Prime Minister, what's the budget for your Security Council bid?
The budget that's required for us at a minimum.
Now what is required? Why are you operating in?
$200,000.
That's the budget you operate in?
Right now, yes.
And you expect to succeed? Now I understand why you say you have to pray.
So, Senator, we are applying many strategies. We didn't feel that the lack of resources should stop us from pursuing what's best for Liberia. And so what we've done is, for example, you will see us with campaign materials and so forth. We were able to get campaign materials by support of in-kind support from some countries. We also are having a intentional fundraiser being led by the president to look at support for the Security Council seat. The discussion that we had, it was a national committee set up by the president. The discussion was held there, and the discussion was that the recommendation was that there should be a recast of the budget to look at the needs for the Security Council seat and just have a recast in the budget. That was prior to the USAID situation. And so, Senator, what I can assure you is that we are working diligently. We are using opportunities of other travels and other meetings and so forth to link the Security Council meeting to it. We have written to all of the countries. We are using all mechanisms to communicate and to campaign. And Senator, with the support of this legislature, when the budget is being looked at and being recast, the campaign period between now and June is not the major issue. The major issue for us will be to have the capacity to be able to hold the seat, to be able to operate and be able to perform at a high level. And we believe that with your support, with your partnership with the legislature, that we can get the resources that we require to have the staffing in New York, the staffing here at home, and to be able to serve. It's a 3-year period that when we win the elections in June, as of July, the Security Council will be trying to build capacity for our team. They will be doing it in New York and here. They expect that by October we'll be seated to start observing, to then have the seats fully from January 2026 to December 2027, and then another 6 months for the winding down. So it's a huge feat, but the benefits will outweigh, and I believe that we'll get the support, resources made available. Liberia will stand to benefit in every way.
Minister, I saw your visit, I followed your visit to Burkina Faso. Do you care to tell this committee about the composition of your delegation to Burkina Faso?
My delegation to Burkina Faso literally was only me initially, but because we had the President's special envoy on investment and a special envoy on tourism who were already in the area, I asked them to join me, but my delegation was only me in security because of the resource constraint.
So those 2 envoys you took to Burkina Faso are some of the issues we have with our passports. We need to talk to the 2 of them. They go in aircraft, they put a champagne by them, they take their red diplomatic passport, put it there, cross their leg to show the world that they have diplomatic passport. So you need to talk to them. And when you have this kind of people on your delegation, it doesn't show well for Liberia, because the representation of our foreign image has not been good. No diplomat or ministry or official of government should go sit on the aircraft, hold your champagne glass, then you pull out a diplomatic passport, then you take picture, and you put it on Facebook to show that you have diplomatic passport and you're official of government. And these are the people you chose to take the Burkina Faso to lobby for a Security Council seat. So I don't know how serious you are for that.
Point of clarification, Senator. I didn't take them to Burkina Faso,
and
I didn't take them to lobby for Security Council seat. And the only reason why they were in that presidency was because of the fact that they were meeting companies there, and I wanted Captain Traore, because of the nature of the kind of governance we have in Burkina Faso, I wanted him to be aware.
Prime Minister, when you went to see the president of Burkina Faso to lobby for a Security Council seat, they were with you to see the president of Burkina Faso?
No. They were not with me when I lobbied for the Security Council seat. It was a one-on-one meeting with me and Captain Traore. Only me. I was the only one on the delegation to go and meeting for the Security Council seat.
So they never met the president of Burkina Faso with you?
They met him, but the meeting I had with him was alone on the Security Council.
Okay. Minister, we'll talk about the Ecowas institution. And I honestly want you to be a little bit aggressive about it. You have good network in the region. And as you know, both Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire are lobbying for WAHU, the West African Health Organization, which obviously could put Liberia on the second layer, or in the second layer, taking into consideration our contribution to community levy and our size of government. But we stand a great chance of getting the youth and sports if we were to lobby for it. But equally so, the president of the Ecowas Commission comes from Gambia and also want to be lobbying for that Ecowas institution to be hosted in the Gambia. So I just want to encourage you. I've been following your progress, and I think publicly I must commend you for the progress so far. But we need to do more, because as you know, if you have an Ecowas institution, you already securing job for at least 20 to 30 Liberians. Then the peace staff that will be coming, housing, the institution, that it brings economic benefit to the country in addition to visibility. So I hope we take this matter seriously. I want to thank the chairman and the committee for flagging this on our agenda. Madam Minister Sewa Ba, who's the Minister of Foreign Affairs?
Princess Sarah Beysolow Yanti.
Is she your boss?
Yes.
Have you attended the Foreign Service Institute?
I'm attending now.
I will encourage you to do better so you will learn how to respect the minister. Information coming from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as regards your behavior and conduct to the minister does not reflect well of an assistant minister. I will publicly encourage you to take note of that. Thank you. No, I'm not going to channel. Prime Minister, you talk about the Directorate of Passport and Intelligence. Is there a new nomenclature or has existed in the past?
So in the past, we have had the Bureau of Passport and Visa, and then working with legal, the Deputy Minister for Legal, and then you had Visa move on the protocol, and it was kind of scattered. And because of the security nature of passports, we felt we needed a department, a new department that will encompass passports, visas, and intelligence to back up the issuance of passports and visas, like it's done in other countries. And so with that, a new department was created. Governance Commission has given the approval for the department. The approval came without the nomenclature of diplomatic intelligence. We've gone back to ask them to add that, but it's been approved. It's a new department headed by the Director General at the level of Deputy Rep. And under that is the Director of Passport, Director of Visa, and Director of Diplomatic
Have you informed the Foreign Relations Committee that you work with that there's a new department or a new nomenclature for the purpose of coordination? For such a strategic position or sensitive change?
I had at some point discussed with the chairman that this was work in progress and so forth. We got the approval last week. We have now officially informed you. We're right officially to inform you.
Another issue, Madam Minister, regarding passport. A company called Blackwell has a contract with the Salif government for passport owned by Hassan Musawi. The contract, after they procured the passports brought into the country, the contract was terminated. And you brought a Bob Press owned by Kofi Buckner. Today, you are talking about canceling that contract again. And I'm sure you'll go to the company Austria. But when the time comes, we'll find out which company will win the bid. You think this brings credibility to our passport? That you sign contract with one company, they're executing it, you cancel it. You go to another company, they're executing it, you cancel it. Now you're already in discussion with Austria. They will win a bid, we all know that one. Then they will start issuing passport again. But how does that bring credibility to our passport?
Senator, to be very honest with you and be transparent with you, it's the first time hearing about this Blackwell contract that was terminated under Madam Salif. I'm not aware of it. We met Bob Press implementing a contract that they do not implement by themselves. They are part of an arrangement with others. And from the security perspective, we do not own the source code. As a country, we do not own the source code. So from the security perspective, we all should be concerned that regardless of whether or not there was a Blackwell before, then I want to appeal to you to look at the fact that as a country, we don't have anybody can use that system and issue passports from anywhere in Liberia's name. So it's in our interest to look at a system where we have more control and where we can at least strengthen the security aspect of passport issuance. Bulk press can also apply if they have the capacity to produce what we want produced. But we're looking now at a higher grade, and we're looking at the ability for one company to implement it by themselves. Right now, bulk press has too many leakages. They have the source code. We don't know who all have the source code. They have another company that does the work with them as well. It's not the best for security enhancements, and I think we should all work together to strengthen this. And we've had the discussion with bulk press. I must admit, I think you admit also they've tried. They've been trying to work along with us to strengthen, but there's so much more that needs to happen.
Mr. Chairman, not to go back too much, but I still have 2 more questions. The ministry explanation on the Japanese rights wasn't quite satisfactory to me. And Senator Nokwe did a follow-up on it, where a company bid for $12.50 or 12 something, other one for 11, Then the ministry reached a decision. So I don't know what was the need of the procurement process. We had to reach all of those decisions. Mr. Chairman, I'll be recommending that since the right hasn't come, maybe it's better to do retender. Because when we listen to the person in charge of the rights on OKFM, I don't know you listened to that recording. It was damaging. It was very damaging for the country. And in all of our
If you don't feel comfortable.
I don't know if the question, the context of the question, I'm a little bit confused by the question, but I don't know what you're speaking to. But what I can say is that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs took over from Mr. Kimia with handover notes, and we're running the ministry in relation to that. I don't know about the government like you're having.
Prime Minister, I asked a question because Mr. Kimia was nominated or appointed as Ecowas Special Rep to Sierra Leone. This government wrote Ecowas to cancel that position. Today, Liberia is the only country that does not have a special rep in the region. In Gambia for a while, your friend Emiata French from Sierra Leone. In Liberia, your friend Josephine Nkrumah from Ghana. In Cote d'Ivoire, Fanta Lubari from Guinea. You know all of them. Now, that slot has been given to Ghana to serve as Liberia's special rep to Sierra Leone because when Liberian was nominated, the Liberian government fought his nomination. It did not fight for Liberian to replace him, even though the person is saying that he was saying he didn't accept it, but he did not make follow-up. So today, Liberia is the only country in our region that does not have a special rep, resident rep or special rep with the president of the Ecowas Commission because Mr. Kimia was prevented by your pen from having that job. What happened to you about it?
Senator Snow, my pen has not written any letter in relation to what you just said. And I can state to you that Liberia has been doing aggressive follow-up on the need for Liberia to have representation. We even recently went as far as asking for Cape Verde.
Madam Minister, have you written as Minister of Foreign Affairs against the recommendation of Mr. Kimanya? Even though this hearing is more an interactive hearing for progress, it is not an interrogative hearing. But we place you on an oath so that answers, information you gave here will be the truth, nothing but the truth. My colleague, Senator Snow, asked you the question. This may make the news that Liberia forbade Liberians from having an opportunity because this government wrote officially on your pen against Kimanya. Did you, as Minister of Foreign Affairs, honor this government right to Ecowas by any means against the recruitment and hiring of Kimanya at the Ecowas Commission?
No, I did not.
Do you know of any letter of such to that effect? Not honor your signature, any letter. Honor oath.
I would like to indicate that I'm aware that the government of Liberia raised concerns. I did not write any letter, and I can indicate that the government of Liberia has raised concerns about the need for representation.
How was the concern raised? Written or
Order.
Yeah, so you see, when we do that, then where the speculation, the news, and the speculative news comes from. Did the government of Liberia, this government, write, not on your pen, any official of this government, in the name of this government, write against the recruitment of Mr. Kimanya as asked by Senator Snow on the Ecowas Commission to represent Liberia? Question.
I know that the government did write to administration would like to identify someone to represent Liberia as ECOWAS representative from this administration.
Not only your signature, on whose signature?
I will have to check on the signature.
I have it here. Let me get it. Yeah, that's it.
Who said
That's not. 1 second. Yeah. You know that the government of Liberia wrote, but you don't remember.
I know that the government of Liberia wrote. Because I don't have the letter handy, and I want to be very careful not to say the wrong thing, because I did not write the letter, I didn't participate.
When Liberia sending communication from Liberia to other countries, what's the channel?
It varies. Sometimes it comes to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, sometimes it goes directly
Sometimes it goes to
Sometimes it goes directly from the Ministry of State.
So we got two different protocols to send communication, formal communication out of the country in the name of Liberia. Are you suggesting that?
I'm not suggesting it, Senator. What I'm saying is the experience we have had that sometimes that does happen.
Madam Minister, who signed a communication on behalf of the government of Liberia in the Kimaya issue?
The letter that went to Nigeria to the ambassador was sent from the nation.
The president or ordered by the president? No idea. Okay. Says the committee will make a part of our proposal that the committee on executive will follow up on this matter. So there's no give some one so that
yeah, I'll soon finish that. Madam Minister, when I said honor your pen, it was deliberate, because Senator Dillon smartly followed up on that. Communication under the auspices of the ministry should come from the foreign ministry. And when I saw that letter, Honorary Senator Minister Beysolow signature to your ambassador in Nigeria by directive, it was about, in addition to the situation itself, I thought that it would come from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But it didn't help Liberia. That slot now is going away from Liberia and is going to Ghana. So the same way we talk to Madam Sewa to follow China and respect the minister, other functionaries of government should also respect the foreign ministry to do its job. The last question, Mr. Chairman, is just an advice. Madam Minister, I attended the funeral service of the late Senator Prince Johnson. It was one of my first times to have listened to an official consent being read so precisely and properly. Unfortunately, the principal reader consent is here. That's a good reach. I would encourage the political department to go to the Foreign Service Institute. Most times we go to programs. Out of the protocol, don't know the president are coming in. Or the president already seated and they say, oh, the president of Ghana just got seated. The president of this country. The words in that consent were pronounced to, every letter in the world was well pronounced. They spoke very well to foreign ministry. I hope that will serve as a lesson for the protocol of any country in the face of the country. If you follow it, send the Foreign Service Institute. They don't have to pronounce their state protocol. Say we don't have money before. Means I didn't talk about before the war. I know before the war when the Dolphins during that so rest in peace are living. Liberia is sent to a political training in Egypt, Morocco, France. Today we may not have money, but we have some ideas that's qualified. So I think we should take advantage of it. So Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. We will continue this hearing. We will conclude at 5:30, and then we'll continue this hearing to be announced. Senator Simeon Taylor and then Senator Madio. Thank you. I want to extend my thanks for giving us
clarity on happenings around the world in Liberia. I have a simple question, just a simple question. What are the reasons for the delay in having Honorable Option taking his assignment in service?
I will overrule that question. Next question.
Chairman.
That question is overruled.
Follow Chairman. When the Senate appoints, when the President appoints, and the Senate confirms, how long does it take for the President to have his or her seat?
It varies. Senator, it varies. And it's important to clarify what the process is supposed to be. First step is a request is made to the country for that person to serve as the country's representative. That country does its own vetting process. It varies. I can say to you right now, it's been almost 6 months since we sent for the ambassador for Nigeria, South Africa, Italy. Those are all delayed, but it varies based on the country. And when the process is not used, because what's supposed to happen is when that country responds to us positively and they indicate that they accept that person as our ambassador, is at that point we inform the executive mansion, and then the executive mansion makes the announcement of the appointment. At that time, a letter goes to the Senate. However, in some instances, this has not been followed, and that further complicates the situation.
So, thank you. Thank you for that answer. You come from Cape and the Americans used the talent bids for more amphibious forces at the time. Have you engaged the American government in preparation concerning the talent bid? Have you engaged in since they used Cape Mount at the time in the 18th century or whatever the case? Have you ever engaged the Americans? The Tala was used for World War II. In Cape Mount, have you ever, as a foreign minister, known about the American using Tala as a base during World War II? Senator Delon is relevant to this. No, I would be telling you what is relevant. Why make it relevant? Yeah, how is it relevant to this? We're talking about the economic diplomacy.
I have not engaged with the Americans on any discussion on reparations for any of the uses of territory of Liberia during World War II. I have not.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, let me thank you for your brilliant presentation. You know, Liberia is a country of gossip. You know, when you're not careful, sometimes you take some action on yourself, you tend to regret. You know, there have been so many news on the radio or in social media regarding this whole American visa restriction. I want to thank you for making it clear that the government of America has not yet officially informed our government. And so the news we are hearing are not true. But you are the ministry is taking proactive action, or the government is taking proactive action in making sure if the news were to be true, so it can be addressed. So I want to thank you for that, for your brilliant presentation. But let's go back to the beginning. I'm from the educational side. I want you to give me, I know you said the Minister of Education will talk about the Moroccan scholarship, but I want you to give me an idea of the entire foreign scholarship architecture. What is it? How much foreign scholarship do we have currently since you became minister, or you are aware of?
Thank you for the question, Senator. To be honest with you, I don't have that figure with me sitting here today. And I think the responsibility is split between international cooperation and foreign affairs.
Can foreign affairs and international cooperation tell how much foreign scholarship we have currently? And how is it being managed? Who's managing it? Are they all on Ministry of Education, or you are? Or the ministry is managing some?
Honorable Senators, like the Minister said previously, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs goes and seek the bilateral or multilateral scholarships that do come to Liberia. When these scholarships come to Liberia, they are all transmitted to the Minister of Education, who is responsible to recruit all students from all walks of life in Liberia. Those students are sent. The only responsibility we have here as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is to make sure what I have to do with passport issuance to those students who are going. The issue I have to do with further engagement, maybe if they have challenges back to those donors country, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs do follow it up.
My question is, how much scholarship have you received at the ministry that you transmitted to the Ministry of Education? How much? How many scholarships?
Honorable Senators, we cannot speak to that right now, but we can give you figures later.
The scholarship from Hungary, Hungarian scholarship. How many scholarships? I'm understanding scholarship should be around 50 million, correct?
Okay, Honorable Senator, we do not have scholarship with Hungary worth 50 million. Hungary and Liberia, we are negotiating a grant, a type A of value 50 million, which is not for scholarship. It might go for infrastructure development, maybe energy sector or some other investment. The Hungary scholarship for Liberia is at 25.
25 million?
No, 25 students a year. But we are negotiating to increase that number.
Prior scholarship value prior to your coming?
The value or the number of students?
The value.
We can tell the value because that is determined by the Hungarian government when the students are sent to.
So, are you willing to, the Minister of Education will be appearing this Thursday, are you willing to fund this committee and video education on the number of scholarships you have received thus far on the language scholarship?
Yes, we are able to compile the data on the number of bilateral scholarships we receive and transmitted to the Ministry of Education.
So you'll do that before Thursday?
Yes.
And not only the one for Hungary.
All scholarships?
The ones we received since January 2020.
Yeah, all bilateral, multilateral scholarships. Thank you very much.
To say that we've also received some like directives to the special arts ministry as well. So, for example, if doctors will send straight to health.
So Foreign Ministry.
May I clarify? May I clarify that the Hungarian scholarship doesn't come directly through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The students have to apply online, and the Hungarian government will send the short list or the long list to the Ministry of Education.
I don't understand what you're talking about. Well, the poor part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is already on the Minister asked for the scholarship, but they're not giving the information.
It's just for the clarity.
It's okay.
We will send you the list.
Don't give me wrong information because I'm aware of the scholarship program. Don't give me wrong information. Send the list to both the foreign affairs committee.
Minister, you forgot that I'm a Minister of State.
I'm just providing further clarity. The government negotiated.
Okay,
all the scholarships, we are just asking you, all scholarships are part of the
foreign ministry.
Yeah.
The list to be submitted on before Thursday as we have engagement with the Minister of Education.
We will send the list.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You see, finish?
What are you doing?
Yeah, finish. I want to start doing your order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please help me again. You said 2 projects were implemented for the Japanese funds in Monrovia. I only capture the 2 projects. You got Douala Market and Obida Market, right?
Yes.
Do you have cost attached to those 2 projects?
We'll have to check the cost.
Okay, I will need that information.
Okay, sir.
And then, Madam Minister, I'm concerned about the prices coming up concerning the rice. The rainy season period is coming. The issue of the rice in Liberia is a critical issue. You don't joke with it, most especially Liberian people concerning rice. I would say, Madam Minister, you need to represent the people of Liberia in the negotiation or in the process. If the companies implementing this will pay $11, there should be a decision how much they're going to sell the rice to the citizens. You have to take decision, Madam Minister. You can't leave it open. There are possibilities that vendors or those companies will keep the rice and decide when to sell this rice, not in the full of 5th month period. So we need a decision that, look, if the rice is $12, the rice should be sold at $13. Look, we need to come up with a decision. There's a grant given to us, and then that decision have to come from you. And you need to empower the entire country, Madam Minister, in the future. What are you thinking about sending the rice to the Southeast? You have many ministries, you have so many persons now working. Who owns the Freeport? The government of Liberia control the Freeport of Morocco. The government of Liberia control the warehouses. You could have placed those rice in those warehouses and then even ask APN terminal to cut down taxes or tax breaks on the shipment that is coming and be able to help the citizens. But you can't get the rest out to those companies. At the end of the day, you're going to see the price of that rest up to $17 to $18. When they take in the interior, it's going to be up to $20. So as a committee, Madam Chair, we, with the approval of Makodi, we're demanding that you need to revisit the negotiation process and come up with prices that benefit the people, and we want the ministry to be part of the process until the rest go to the end users. It's very important for us.
Thank you, Senator. Just to clarify, that the price structure for the rice is not by Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it's by Ministry of Commerce. So your recommendation is taken. As we said earlier, we're going to review the management guidelines. We're supposed to strengthen it. We'll give it feedback to Commerce Ministry, so we'll all look at it holistically to see how we make sure we strengthen it. That ultimately, that's what this is all about for the end user to benefit. It's
exactly.
It's not to be stuck.
So please, so in the meantime, you need to communicate with them to hold on with the process. You'll revisit the pricing, and then you can negotiate in the interest of the people.
On the issue of the, I don't know the implications for the guidelines and what the Japanese expect, the timelines and so forth, but we'll do all we can to address the concerns.
Okay, thank you, Madam Minister. And then you have, some of my colleagues spoke on that, foreigners handling our passport but serving a particular role. What is Liberia benefiting from some of these individuals representing us in those countries? What have they done? For instance, since this administration, I don't know how many persons in that category you have that having holding our passport and serving as consul general into different countries, and what have they done for our country?
I shared earlier, Senator, for example, the person in question we talked about earlier, the scholarships for Mauritius, they were increased based on that engagement and negotiation. It's very early to give you trend or to give you, holistically performance, but it's something we are working on. But definitely for sure, it's supposed to be beneficial to the country. If it's not beneficial to the country, we discontinue the rule. The government has started the process for honorary consuls, and we have taken applications for honorary consuls. As you know, the previous administration canceled all honorary consuls. This administration came in and also reconfirmed the decision of the previous administration. We agreed with the previous administration on that, and we reconfirmed it. But we have people out there who may not be complying. And so what we've been doing actively is following up, getting information about people pretending to be honorary consul. We've been working with different governments. We've written all the foreign ministries around the world. We'll continue to engage to make sure that we manage it in a better way. And performance is one of them. What does it bring to the table? And so in the next year, we'll be able to say, okay, over the last 1 year of implementation, this is what has happened and so forth.
And we have any decision concerning to the passports that were in the, well, one of my police spoke about, that was at the port, in the container, the passport being investigated. What's the final decision relating to that container?
General Prince Johnson and I discussed, we agreed that we need to destroy the passports. We don't communicate with the company, but they have communicated with us, and we're working on it.
The company agreed that I should destroy this passport?
We need to finalize with them.
Who's going to afford the bill for the payment of the passport since it's going to be destroyed?
No, we need to finalize with them. We need to finalize with the company what to do with the passports. We're proposing to destroy them, but we didn't agree with the company.
What's the intent of destroying them? They can't be used, right?
They cannot be used.
Why?
That's the request of the company. They don't want their passports used. Okay. But again, we haven't finalized with them.
The company from this?
The company that sent those passports here, they're from Austria.
Okay, so they can be used, they should be destroyed.
No, I'm not saying they should destroy. We propose now to destroy them. We have not finalized with them. Whether we destroy them or send them back to them.
Okay. And then finally, Mr. Chairman, please give me details. What's the total concerning the rest? How many bags are needed of food disposal? Do you have all those information?
We are expecting 2,640 metric tons of rice.
Okay.
By the end of this month.
And 1 metric ton is for the 4 bags, right?
Yeah, so it's something around 87,000 bags.
87,000 bags.
Yeah. It should be valued at around 1.2 million USD.
So 1.2 million USD. Can the government pay for the rice and give it out to our citizens to, other needed purposes? Is it possible? Because from the value you're talking about, it is somewhat 1,000 bags. If you actually calculate that rice as $16 or $17, it will be more than 1.2 or 1.3. So what can you do as a government? Because tomorrow the government will be buying rice to do something else to give out. Can the government buy that rice and give it to the youthful population, the other organizations helping what they get is orphanage. The government spend money towards orphanage home.
Thank you, Senator.
Even the prison center, those prisons around the country, the government have money in the budget. So can the government just, those different agencies, can they just pay for the rice and the rice go to that purpose?
Thank you, Senator. Very brilliant suggestion. The 1.2 million is what accrued to the government at the end of the sales. So it's up to the government to purchase it. But then what the Japanese are concerned with, the amount be deposited in the escrow account, and then the project be decided for economic returns.
So let me hold you there, Mr. Minister. Are the Japanese telling us to sell the rest, or are they donating the rest to us as a country?
The program is to monetize the rights, to sell the rights and use the proceeds for economic investment that is not captured in the national budget.
So in essence, they don't have the, if they want to assist us, they don't have the cash. So they give us the rights to sell it, monetize it, and then use it for development purposes.
Exactly.
So if we buy the rest in keeping with this suggestion, if we sell the rest to ourselves as a government for $12, and then give it to the central prison, to the vulnerable homes, to the hospitals, so that the government itself can go buy rest for $17 per bed. We get rights. We selling $12. Let's buy it for ourselves. Then we don't have to go buy rest for $17. Then you said the consul withdrawing school feeding program. That rest and thing can go to war, filling some of these gaps. That one Senator Sarkozy is suggesting. That one making sense here already, and that's why I'm re-echoing.
Very brilliant, but it's up to the government to decide that. Very brilliant suggestions here that we can take forward. If the government has the resources from the Ministry of Finance or through the consolidated account to purchase this rights and use it for social interventions in the schools.
We can find money for almost everything. We can find $1 million. We can load in our budget the money for feeding at the zero prison compound. We just do the tally until we reach one. For government to buy the rest, it's cheaper for us to buy the rest for ourselves. Because if we're buying the rest for $11, if we're selling the rest for $11 or $12, let's buy the rest for $11 or $12 ourselves for the purpose of intervening, rather than selling the rest to businessmen for $11, $12. Then we'll go turn around and buy the rest for $17 to feed prisoners, and to feed orphanages, and to feed vulnerable homes, and to feed hospitals. It makes sense, right?
On this note, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, we'll take note of that and we'll ask the minister and the other officials to see the possibility to negotiate that. Forget about the sales and not focus in that direction. As a committee, we can look for the resources within the budget that goes towards that. So we have money that goes to the prison. You are speaking at we have money that we pay towards feeding prisoners. We have the issue of school feeding program where USAID have poor. Those kids are used to feeding. School feeding program is very essential to our young kids. So we're going to focus in that direction. So as a government, as a committee, that is our focus. We want you to communicate that to the Ministry of Commerce. Forget about those companies. We will buy the rest and we'll move forward with that. Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Minister. We got 10 more minutes and then we'll close up.
So just to say, you're raising, perspective that I don't think I've been thought about before. What I would like to do is to then take it back to the steering committee. The Japanese have a structure in place the program is old, about since 2008. So they had a management guide, they have a way they've been working for all these years. I think that's changed appropriately, but I do believe that the suggestion you made is innovation. These are new times, different, we have competing priorities, different issues that are evolving. So let's go back to them, let's go back to the steering committee and to them and give them the his feedback and see the possibility, and we'll refer to you.
We are asking you as minister and your team to get back to us within a week regarding this suggestion, because we need to the chairman of the Committee on Defense, Security and Intelligence, who is co-chairing the joint committee, will come in and then we will close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And for me, it's a very healthy engagement that the public will know that Liberians do not have a restricted visa process at the U.S. Embassy now. For the explanation of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think that's going to lay a lot of fears down. But one question is trending in the social media right now. Is it true that Rwanda has withdrawn its diplomatic mission from Belgium?
In the last days, many things are happening on the international scene. The U.S. has expelled the South African ambassador, and Rwanda has severed diplomatic ties with Belgium and gave them 48 hours to leave the country.
Let's talk about the passport issue. It says you fight the passport issue. Passport is a security commodity. And I don't want to be too long because colleagues you all spoke very well about it. I have had a practical experience with passport. There was a person sitting there with the NSA, the former foreign minister just left, I managed to serve the airport as regional commander when I worked for the NSA. I had the opportunity to seize over 100 diplomatic passports. You can test over 300 official passports in the hands of wrong people. They directly test. And before I became senator, I served as an honorary consul for the Czech Republic, stationed in Ghana. Many a times I do the background check regarding Liberians who seek a visa to go to the Czech Republic. And in last year, 2024, he sent me 12 passports. Out of the 12 passports, only 2 were genuine. All 10 were fake passports. Liberian passport. That's a major concern, and I'm happy that the minister and the ministry is taking steps to have the passport, canceled and renewed. But the issue is where the passport is being conducted right now. I learned it's in Ghana. Is that Ghana? What we use now, the passport institution that we use is in Ghana right now. Where the passport that we use now, where is it? Where President.
It's printed in Austria.
The first passport. Does Ghana have any relationship with it?
They got a contract. They engaged a company from Austria.
So my suggestion would be, if we have to re-tender, what pressure not participate? The reason is that it's not a loophole we are all saying. So if they participate, we'll have the same principle. Let's give the opportunity to newer companies that will strengthen the security portion of the passport printing. I think Bob Press has overlaid its usefulness, it's being around. It hasn't done very well for our passport, in my own opinion. We should not give them the opportunity again. I say, in my own opinion, do not give it to them again because we have been investigating, and I know that the passport has been properly managed. Like I just said, 12 passports coming off from Ghana, only 2 was genuine. And how are these people getting our passport to take the passport to the Czech Republic? Council the section for visa. It's scary. And so let's look at that from a national security standpoint. So I think Bob Price should be looked at very clearly in the next dispensation. Commendation to the Foreign Service Institute. Like you said, The Foreign Service Institute in the last few months or year has done very well. And I want to give appreciation to Dr. Gurish for the transformations in the reform. I'm a lecturer there. I was there and I see what's going on. I want to say thank you, Dr. Gurish, for the transformation. To the Ministry of Foreign Affairs team, we want to say thanks for coming. The interaction was great, and I think it helped to allay most of the fears, and it helped to give most of the explanations to the public out there, and continue doing your work. Thank you. There are a couple of issues that is very highly security related. I will have a closer conversation with everybody. I can say that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Cyrus of Lofa County, the chair, Senate Leadership Committee on Defense, Security, Intelligence, and Veteran Affairs. Madam Minister and your team, would like to thank you on behalf of the committee. I'd like to say thanks to senators, committee members, and other colleagues who turned out. We'd like to acknowledge ELBC for taking this entire year live for the interest of our people, OKFM, Joy FM, and all of the media institutions that are here. We'd like to appreciate. We'd like to announce that these engagements will be quarterly. In between, if there's need, we'll have committee meetings with the relevant authorities. But the kind of discussions will be quarterly, so we get a perspective, an overview, and progress and challenges, how far we've gone. I'd like to admonish Madam Minister that you consider the issue of internal audits of our embassies, so that the next quarterly interaction, we can have some report on them. We want to consider the suggestions we made regarding whether the government should purchase the rice for cost saving, or whether it will impact if we purchase the rice as a government with the Japanese government. Consider that all the who have money, they can buy the rice and they can buy their own rice. You know, that kind of stuff. We're going to look at all of those. Madam Minister, we'd like to get important update, feedback on your engagement with the U.S. government through the embassy here, so that we know for a fact what was read on the social media and on the New York Times, so to speak, is a credible, official, formal position of the U.S. government, and we have work to do. We have work to do. We have a window of 60 days to review actions that we must take. The next time we meet, we want to be clear that we've taken this step, we have taken this action, we've done this, we've done that, and now we will. We are doing it all, we are negotiating. We want what we've done. Regarding the possibility and our effort to host an Ecowas institution here, I'd like to encourage you, the committee would like to encourage you to continue your engagement with Senator Beysolow and this committee, and whatever we can do as the Senate and as this committee to ensure that Liberia will have the opportunity to host an Ecowas institution here. We are ready to assist in that direction. And in closing, we want to be very clear. We'll work with Senator McGill and the Committee on Education, with the Minister of Education on Thursday, because he said something very alarming, that there are some Liberian students who been in Morocco and other parts since 2013. Some graduate, they don't want to come back, they're still there in the name of Liberian students on scholarship. Some don't meet the criteria, academic criteria. They are not on campus, but they are out there in the name of Liberian students. There are some who are actually
in line with everything that we're sending out there to do. We need to cater to them, not just in Morocco, but other places. That is why the Senate Committee on Education, along with the Foreign Affairs Committee, have been mandated by the plenary to engage with the Minister of Education and as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for us to this matter on Thursday. We want to say thank you and may God bless you, all of us. The wall has not fallen. We will not allow the wall to fall. Thank you and God bless you. The hearing is hereby adjourned and the Minister of Team, they are hereby discharged.